Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this gathering of the Kennebunkport Select Board. Today is Thursday, the 14th of August. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Would you please rise and join me with our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business is to approve the July 24th Select Board minutes.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? So moved. This fourth item is our public forum. This is your opportunity to address the board with any issue that is not on the agenda. I think Tracy has something to start us off.
Good evening, Tracy O'Rourke, Town Clerk. I just wanted to remind our residents that absentee voting is currently happening for the school budget vote scheduled for August 28th. So you can come in and pick up your absentee ballots between now and August 25th, which is a Monday. That's the last day that you can request an absentee ballot. And voting will take place right here at the fire station on Thursday, August 28th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that, and just a gentle reminder to come on out and vote. And then along those same lines, we do have a school board opening, and the applications are currently being accepted for that. It's a one-year term till next June. And if anyone would like to apply for that position, the deadline, like I said, is the 29th of August. And then I believe the board will discuss the applications at the first meeting in September. So again, just a reminder that that seat is open and we are looking for someone to fill it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would have something they'd like to say? Again, that's not on the agenda. How are we in TV land, Zoom land?
We have 8 attendees, no hands raised.
Is this a good time?
Yep.
Yeah, just on behalf of the fire chief and the fire department, and this is about the ban on outdoor burning because of the extended hot weather and dry conditions we've had. So there is an emergency ban on all outdoor burning of brush, grass, debris, or other natural or synthetic materials. There's a ban on recreational or campfires, including those in fire pits, chimneys, and similar devices. And there's a ban on the use of burn barrels or similar containers. This ban does not prohibit the use of gas, propane, or charcoal grills used for cooking, provided they are always attended and used safely. You know, if anybody has any questions, they can contact the fire department. And as soon as the ban can be released, I know that they will make that notice known.
The fifth item on our agenda is a public hearing. We have a new liquor license and special amusement permit that has been submitted by RCHIP LLC, doing business as Ryan's Corner Irish Pub. This is a new license, and therefore we have a public hearing. I will be asking that representatives for Ryan give a little statement about what the plans are, and then it will be open for public input. So I would first open the public meeting. And do I need a vote for that, or is that's so? Wow, power. The meeting is open. So we have a public meeting. Are the representatives of Ryan's here? Good. Thank you. Would you be willing to come forward to the podium?
Good evening, all. My name is Joe Ryan. As you can tell, I'm not from here, from Ireland. I arrived here 17 years ago, living in Kennebunkport for 17 years. I have been in the pub and restaurant trade for 61 years now. I was born and raised in Ireland in this trade. My father started in 1940. We came over here and we started Ryan's Corner House in Kennebunk. We got an opportunity to open there. It became an amazing success, a massive following, part of the community. Everybody loves, I won't say everybody, majority of people loves Ryan's Pub. Ryan's Pub, as it is seeking to come to Kennebunkport into the old Chez Rosa building. We are planning to come in a different light than what we are right now. As well as some residents that are concerned about us, we're also concerned. We're losing patio, we're losing parking, we're losing that sort of trade. But what we want to bring here is totally different from what Ryan's is today. We have outdoor music at Ryan's. Our amusement license is, what we're looking for there is to bring what I would call dinner music. If anybody is familiar with Bodelio, Andy McLeod, that one-man show from 6, finishing music at 9 p.m. No outdoor music, as you know, there is no outdoor there for music. Also, I know that we met with some of the residents on Tuesday, and that was a concern. In the interior of the building, and I might be jumping back a little here, in the interior of the building, we are putting up, in the event that music or noise leaves the building, we are putting up noise-proof curtains, etc., just to keep it within music 6 to 9, finish at 9. I do know the most concern with some of the neighbours that are here tonight is the times. I did apply for noon to midnight, which I have always done with all my applications for alcohol. It gives me a window. Even though we're noon to midnight at Ryan's, we don't open until 2 o'clock. So we have a window. We're trying to satisfy the residents. Instead of opening from, we don't know whether we're going to do lunch or not yet, so we'll skip the early part because there isn't any issue with that. We are going to close at 10:30, not midnight, as on the sheet. So last call is 10:30 in the proposed new location.
How many days a week?
6 and 5 in the winter. And, you know, in the wintertime, even at Ryan's, over the last 15 years, we have been closed nights at 9 and 10 o'clock. We've always, up there, we've always used business decline. But here we're going to do 10:30. Tracy and I are getting a little older too, and we've done this a long time. I want to assure the residents that we're not coming down to create enemies, to make problems. We did talk on Tuesday for some time with 3 of the residents, and we said we were willing to work with them on these times to satisfy everybody.
So you're not going to stay open till midnight?
Absolutely not. We don't even want to do that ourselves anymore. Anything else that I left out? I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
So you're not going to have any outdoor music?
Well, there is no place for outdoor music, no outdoor music. No outdoor music. And totally, as people know Ryan's right now, totally at a different level. We've already discussed that we've got a handful of guys, like I said, Andy McLeod, Bo Delio, Sean Dutrimble, and Bob Duquette. I don't know if you probably have known those names. That's who we use.
So you might have music indoors 6 days a week in the summer?
5.
5 days a week?
2 in the winter.
2 in the winter, okay.
Are any of those folks that you just mentioned the people who play out there now?
Yes?
Okay.
Yes. But it's totally different now. It's outside, it's on the patio. It's totally different. They bring different amplification, they blast it out. Yeah.
And are you acoustic, or would it just be acoustic, or?
That I have to find out. It would definitely not be the amplification that they're using now. Sometimes they play inside at Ryan's. If any of you are ever in Ryan's, Ryan's has 45 seats inside. Sometimes they play in a corner and they still need a speaker, a small speaker.
And I'm sorry, but I missed what you said when you said if there was some noise escaping, you were going to do something, but I missed what you said.
Yes, we would rectify that. We are putting up noise-proof curtains anyway, even though the windows that are there are Anderson 400s, which are, I had somebody inspect them the other day, they are noise-proof, or soundproof, whatever but we're going a step further to mitigate that if need be, and if not, we just turn the volume down. And like I said, we are not coming to cause problems. We don't want to cause problems. We would like to get on with the neighbours, and we would like the neighbours to come and support us and get on with us. That's our goal.
I've enjoyed Ryan's for a number of years. I always saw it. I think I like, as good as the food was, the Smittix was always the draw. But I'm wondering if this sounds like it might be moving more towards. But feeling more towards restaurants than...
Yes, it is. I have hired 2 new chefs. We want to get more back into the food business than what we're at.
Because that's more of what you had down south, right? Was that, was it Phelan's?
Yes, in Phelan, yes, correct.
You just pub crawl, is that?
Right.
I had been known to...
And I would like to add, just for all it's worth, 15 years at Ryan's, we have never called the police. We have never had the police. And we talked about that with the police of Kennebunk only last week. I wanted to make sure that I was right on that. We have never called the police. So I want to assure you that we do, Tracy and I are there until close every night. If I leave it early, Tracy's there until close down. We run a good, clean show.
When you had the operation in Wells, did you have indoor music there?
Yes, I did.
Same type that you're proposing?
Totally different. I had live bands, 4 or 5 piece. It was a way bigger space than any of these. Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to open it to the public?
I think
we need to hear from the
Yeah,
neighbors.
I think we're in a...
We'll hear from the neighbors and then
Cool.
we can go back.
Stand by, so I'm sure there'll be some questions that you'll want to address. I would ask that if we try to keep our comments to that 3-minute piece, if there are a number of them, and we can have multiple rounds, no more than 2 per individual. Come on up ahead.
Hi, I'm Kelly Scott. I'm happy to get things started. I'm a resident of Kennebunkport. I've been here previously. I am a 3rd generation in this community. I just want to start off by saying I'm very pro-restaurant. For those that don't know, I actually am an executive at a global restaurant reservation company. So I'm very pro-restaurant, and I make my career off of it. I don't want to necessarily get into the details of the proposal. My concern is that the neighbors haven't been sufficiently notified. The neighbors found out at the very last minute, just when the agenda was posted, that this was happening. I don't believe that there has been enough time for the neighborhood to even understand the implications of the requests. I think some of what was just discussed is different than what's in the application, and I would like to see those commitments made in writing. I think that's a really important component to consider, because there's some pretty big variances, I think, between what was just discussed and what was in the application. I only had a chance for a cursory read of the application, but I noted several omissions and inaccuracies within it, including distances to schools and omissions of places of worship that are in very close proximity. Also concerning that it's in very close proximity to a library and in a community with a lot of residents and a lot of children as well. For those reasons, I would suggest that there is a special meeting or that this can be discussed in a future meeting. A lot of our neighbors were not able to attend tonight because it is the summertime and they're on vacation. And I just don't feel that we have sufficient information to even come to a decision at this time.
Do you live in the neighborhood?
I do. I live on Main Street, and I will just say that I could hear the music last night at Ryan's from my house very clearly in their current location.
Well, being outdoors, that would make sense.
Yep. But I just wanted to say that I think a lot of people last night could hear the music. So I think the neighborhood has been very supportive to date. but this is a very different location. And I just don't think there's been enough time and enough notification for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi there. My name is Sarah Vanderschaff, and I live at 17 Main Street in Kennebunkport. I'm on the corner between Main Street with an E and Union, so I am so close to the venue that when it was a previous establishment, I would go home to my house to use the bathroom if I was at the restaurant because there was no line. So if that puts in context where I live. I'm speaking tonight having had the privilege to talk to Tracy and Joe yesterday, and I really do appreciate the effort to meet with us and to listen to our concerns. And I truly appreciate that you have heard them and that some of what you talked about tonight is in harmony with that. I really, I think that is significant. It doesn't always happen, and I'm appreciative, and I want to respect your legacy of being, pub owners and the fact that you reached out to me yesterday. Thank you. I did meet with many of my neighbors, and so I'm speaking a little more than 3 minutes, if that's okay, because I was deputized not to put words in their mouth, but to convey a synthesis of
You
information.
certainly inherit those minutes, you bet.
Okay, I appreciate it. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking, as I said, as someone who lives just a few feet from Cross Street. I love the historic village in which I live. One of my daughters has been a docent at the Historical Society, which is part of our the nature of our neighborhood and close to my house. The other was an intern at the library, which is literally across from my house. So we are invested in the history of this town, the present and the future. That is, I think, similar to most of the people who live in the historic part or the residential village residential technically, of where we are. I am also here to echo Kelly's words, which is that we request that you postpone any vote on Ryan's Corner Pub's request for a liquor permit and special entertainment until we have had time to adequately hold a public hearing and do our due diligence about questions. The owners of the pub currently have a liquor license, and they also have a special amusement license. So you might ask, why are we asking for you to suspend a vote tonight? And you might also ask, well, wait a minute, there are other restaurants around that also have these permits. What's the holdup? The answer is actually quite simple. The difference between rubber stamping a yes tonight and getting more community input, more answers to imperative questions, and fully articulating how these permits could, in practice, align with what's worked in harmony in this, what I'm going to call a buffer zone. And I'll explain, between Dock Square and Village Residential. It's worth getting right. It's worth taking more than 2 days. And like I said, I appreciate the dialogue we've been able to have, but we're on our back feet. It's been 2 days since we found out any of this. And that's somewhat a virtue of, you could say it's just the way the system works. But obviously, we're a town that's been around for hundreds of years. We need more than 2 days as we look to the future. As I said, it's only been 2 days that we became aware of the specifics of their permit requests, and even that it became official knowledge among us that they were the tenant moving into that space. It is not without trying. We have a vested interest in this, and many of us have been asking questions and perhaps even annoying you. But it hasn't been possible to disclose this information until so recently. Many of our fellow neighbors don't even know about the information. And I want to emphasize that the location of what we're talking about is extremely important. In reality, what we're talking about is a building that has two personalities. And I know some of the coding happened in the 70s, and a lot of it's kind of just been bumped along through the years. But if you know this building, one half has an address that faces Ocean Avenue, and that's Dock Square, and we all know that's Dock Square. But the side we're talking about, where the restaurants have traditionally been, faces Cross Street. And the permit application even states Cross Street as the permanent or the physical address of where these permits would be So that's important, and I recognize that zoning-wise, you could look and say, well, wait a minute, this is Dock Square zoning, and you, Sarah, live in residential, and you, neighbor, who's just a few feet away, literally a few feet away, are residential. Cross Street is a street that is not officially, but in practice, a bit of a buffer. And so we're not talking about any location. We're not talking about any part of Dock Square. We're talking about this beautiful, unique spot that has grown organically as the town has grown. And some of my neighbors, their parents built their houses, and I recognize we're not about who's been here longer. I'm a newbie 5 years, right? My husband was born in Maine, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to be another steward of the historic home in which I live. So location, it is important. And so we have questions, and we believe it's too early to approve a permit without more answers, more community input, and more parameters about how, if these permits are approved, what parameters can be put in place? Who has the authority to do that? And if it's really just a common sense agreement, how do we maintain it? How is it monitored? Who has the burden of making sure that the back and forth is mutually agreeable? We don't know. And so without knowing, it's hard for us to say, yeah, just say yes, just vote yes, or vote no. In fact, it's worth exploring. The following are a list of broad concerns some of my neighbors have shared with me and my husband, Tom. I share them too. I state these not because I think there are quick answers, but because I know they require more thought, more time, and more expert opinions. The consequences of rubber stamping either of their permit requests without examining would be that they can't be modified or nuanced. And it is so important to maintain the delicate balance that has largely worked in this unique spot. For more than 20 years, we've had Bandaloop, we've had Chez Rosa. I don't need to compare, but I can say that it's worked. But it's worked because of the nuances of those establishments, being good neighbors, and we being good neighbors. I mean, my neighbors have done buyouts of those restaurants. We've loved having restaurants or a bar to get a drink at 5, a glass of wine at 5 or a beer, whatever it is. We value the unique nature of this neighborhood. Our concerns come from wanting to keep that going, to preserve, not to stay static, but to kind of keep that special sauce that's really very vulnerable if smart decisions aren't made. So the details matter: how late, how much noise, but also how much risk and how much burden. And when we talk about risk, that's really complicated. It can't be known tonight without further expert opinions. So yes, thank you, Tracy and Joe. Music is a huge concern, and we appreciate that you want to pivot to dinner music. We appreciate that you would be in contact with us, too, to say, you know what, Tracy, it's too loud tonight. Can you help us on that? That means the world to us. But it would mean even more to have it somehow articulated, to have it known that we can lean on that, and that, God forbid, something changed and we have to call the cops or the police. I tried to figure out what the noise ordinance here is, and technically there's not a noise ordinance as it pertains, like code enforcement can say, or if I'm getting this right, like construction, yes. But it's the police you have to go to talk about amplified music after, I think it's 10, right? So, we're starting to get into a little bit of a gray area. We don't want to have to ever rely on calling the police if things are too loud, but if you have karaoke or you have this or that, maybe it is. And then who owns it? Who's responsible? It would be so helpful to have that articulated. But there's also the noise of traffic on a one-way street for an establishment with no parking. How would that affect the residential homes just literally yards away? The residential village in which we live will bear the burden of a lot of that parking, because let's be honest, we have a problem with parking in Dock Square, and that's the very reason that Dock Square has been zoned to be a little bit different. You kind of let some things happen that couldn't happen if they were somewhere else. I get it, but the spillover goes to residential. So the effect of a business in Dock Square that's just a couple feet away from us would mean potentially, as we've seen already, people will park right in front of our houses on Main Street. If they're getting out of a restaurant establishment, maybe at 10:30, if you have last call at 10:30, it's different than if you have last call at 10. I'd love to know which it was, because I think I heard, I'm a little confused. But then when people go to their cars, are they talking outside first? We hear it. Are they going to their cars right in front of our house? Or are they getting an Uber? And where are they standing to get the Uber? There's literally no parking. The library parking lot is across from my house. I hate to think that the library parking lot, you know, becomes a late night kind of chit-chatting until 11, 12, and so forth. It hasn't for 20 years. I'm very grateful. Would the establishment take reservations? The previous restaurants have. Now, if you take reservations, you kind of know how many people you're going to have. You have an occupancy limit that you're always going to meet. If they don't take reservations, then there'll be a spillover crowd, or it's packed. Obviously, these are nuances that are very different. Most of us know what it was like to try to get a reservation at Chez Rosa. You couldn't always, right? You had to plan ahead. This is just a different establishment. Not to criticize it, but there's a consequence for that. Have we considered what that consequence is? And how it affects literally just a few feet away. We also have safety concerns, safety questions. And again, it's just a little early to know the answers. The first big consideration that I think is something that we all can agree is important is fire and structural concerns about a very, very old building. That's its charm. It's a historic building. I think it might have been built in 1800. I mean, it's in all the photos, right? Has it been inspected regarding life safety? Can a building inspector opine on this particular use of the building as a pub restaurant as opposed to restaurants with a very finite capacity of people who are dining and leaving, not lingering perhaps? Or has the state fire marshal looked at it? Has the local fire chief weighed in? The safety of tourists on a one-way street, should they have lunch or even into the 6 o'clock hour? They are walking and they are boarding the tour buses. They are getting off the tour buses. You know, we've actually made a lot of progress with the tour buses. Thank you. It's not perfect, but we've seen a negotiation of trying to manage a difficult situation.
Sarah, we're going to have to.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Just get up to your
Okay,
points.
yeah, I'm almost done. Also, has there been a decision on whether it would be a drop-off point for vehicles or trolleys for the after-wedding situation as a pub that's traditionally a last call place, which is to say when the other party ends, is this where the next party starts? So we ask you to take these considerations into the full context and postpone a vote because the consequences on granting or rubber stamping a liquor permit or the special amusement means that you don't have the ability to walk back and look at the parameters and get them in writing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
I'd like to answer some of those questions, and I'd also like to ask some questions on those questions. Was my application received in the right and proper manner?
Yes.
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 Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And we
Good.
posted the public hearing notice.
As normal, as Bendeloop did, and as Chez Rosa did?
Yep.
Okay, well, I rest my case on that. I don't believe there should be an adjournment for another hearing on that. Weddings, we do weddings at Ryan's. I've already made it very clear to some of the residents, we are not doing late night weddings. You know, I don't know what we need. If we need to put some of this stuff in writing, I have no problem. We are not doing fire. Back to Fela. 1769, a matchbox. 7 bedrooms upstairs, 2 apartments. I had it for 10 years. Not as much as a fire engine was ever called. We are very, very responsible people when it comes to that kind of stuff. I understand the structure of the building we are going into. I was in there today with the owner, and it's unbelievable. Yes, it's all wood and that, but for me, that is not even a concern after having a building of 1769 with 2 apartments upstairs. I'm not sure what other information Sarah needs. I do want to ask one question about that building, though. That is commercial area, right? That building is a commercial building, obviously.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that for myself, that it is.
It's in the commercial zone.
It's commercial zoned, okay. Yeah. Sarah talks about about traffic. There is no parking on Cross Street. There is no parking on Union Street. There is no traffic coming from Rosa, Bendelup, or the proposed Ryans. I pass home most nights about 4 times. We have a 13-year-old daughter, and I go up and see her in and out. There's constantly people walking on Main Street. There's people last night walking on Cross Street. I don't know about Union Street. And they are not coming from Rosa or Ryans right now. So there is people out and about. We have karaoke. Concerns about karaoke. We never intend to do karaoke. Our music is 6 to 9. That is full stop. Allison's, on the other hand, does karaoke. 300 feet away. The 9 to 11:45. Open air music is in the Kennebunkport Inn. Outside music. That is 200 feet. So I'm just making those points, that's all. I just wanted to make sure that my application was received in the proper manner and that the steps were taken at that stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments before I close the public hearing? Anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised.
Then I will close the public meeting and ask comments or pleasure from the board.
I don't have a problem with his liquor application whatsoever. I think that maybe with his other license, that I think that we might be able to have some agreement with some additions.
Some
that need to
guardrails,
be-
that's
yeah,
what I was.
with the amusement license. But that's how I feel.
I don't have a problem with the liquor license. The building itself has had a liquor license from Vanderloop or Chez Rosa. Granting Ryan's a liquor license, to me, is not a issue. However, with the special amusement permit, I will agree with what was brought up by the neighbors. I think to some extent your application leaves the special amusement permit a little very vague, okay? And it does say 12 to 12. So I think I would be willing to ask for a postponement or a table of this to another meeting to let you and the neighbors get together and kind of maybe hammer something out, put it in writing, and bring it back to the board then. And we can have another discussion about it.
On the music license?
Well,
This is on the entertainment.
on the special amusement license, okay? I just, because technically there's 2 votes here. There's one for a liquor license, there's one for a special amusement permit. I think the problem that I have is with the special amusement permit. Given what you've done and what you do, which I've participated in, so I'm not gonna, and I can hear the music and I'm a mile away. I do think that it is a slightly different area and neighborhood where you're looking to relocate than where you are now. And I think the concerns of the neighbors need to be factored in. So that would be my proposal.
Any thoughts, Joe, to add to that?
Yeah, I'm ready to.
Like,
I agree, the liquor license, I think, is pretty clear cut. I think there could be some written clarifications with respect to the special amusement license. I think that would go a long way in the long and short term to ease your transition into the space and to assuage the fears of any of the neighbors. And it seems you're willing to make those conditions because you've already stated on the record that you're willing to do that.
So I think I'm in alignment with the rest of the board. I think, in listening to the neighbors, writing down the high points, many of them were, if there was no businesses there before, then we would have taken those into account, I believe. But because there has been businesses in there before, I saw nothing that would allow us to deny the liquor license for them. And also, so I do agree that you have already made some changes to the special amusement lesson, so I agree with the rest of the board that that should be hammered out and written, and I think that will assuage some of the concerns from the residents. But I also want to commend you both, because we've been through a lot of these, and I don't think I've ever run into an owner that has been willing to stand up and say, I'm curtailing this, I'm curtailing that, I'm doing this. So I understand the residents' concerns, and it feels to me that you are already listening to them. So I think, I don't know, this is like one of the first times I think this has happened here with a commercial business and residents. So I feel good, and I do know that this is a buffer zone. And I think the steps that you already started to take are into that. And we do have, these are yearly licenses. So when we issue special amusement licenses, if there's issues during that course of the year, the board at that time will review whatever's been happening. So it's not at infinity and beyond here. This is something that, the board takes very serious, and
So I think, having heard the thought on the board, what I'm hearing is that we would separate these two decisions, have the special amusement request be tabled until such time as it is a reapplication with some guardrails, and I think something in writing that folks have a sense of what they're agreeing to makes a lot of sense. Will that be a public hearing again, or not necessarily for the special amusement?
I mean, we'll have it on the agenda, but
But it
we've
won't be.
already done the public hearing notice, the legal public hearing notice.
Okey-doke. And Sarah, we need to be sure we're together so that your folks know on that meeting. Just keep checking the next, well, you'll know when you're submitting it. So hopefully you'll be part of the work to get an agreement in place with the guardrails that will make the community
Our
happy.
next meeting is August 28th, so
Not the 14th, 28th.
today's the 14th.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Boy, how time goes.
So
So the
August
28th would be the next
But-
possible one.
That is a morning meeting, correct?
That
It's
is-
turning into a night.
Actually,
Oh, okay,
that's
it's
gonna
turning
be
into a
an
night
evening
meeting, okay.
In fact, it'll probably be at the police station, so stand
Oh,
by.
right, because we
'Cause
have
it's-
election day, right?
Yeah.
School budget vote day here.
But then I hear the pleasure of the board then is also to entertain a motion to approve the liquor license.
yes, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the liquor license submitted by RC HIP LLC, DBA Ryan's Corner Irish Pub.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none.
Can we, you agree to limit, you were gonna back off from the midnight. Can that be put as a stipulation? That they have to back off from midnight on the liquor license?
For the which now?
The liquor license, you said that you were gonna be, you didn't need till noon, midnight.
So it's going to be, yeah, well, we can approve it amending,
Yeah.
well, with the amendment. So the motion will include the amendment, that last call and closing happens at 10:30. Last call, 10:30. Closing is then when? I'm a little confused on that.
Last call means they can just have one more drink. They can't have any more.
So is the time, what is the time
Sure.
we're talking about now?
Stan, I'm sorry. If you wish, please,
Oh, excuse me.
please come up.
So,
You have
yeah, I think
definition?
that's what we're trying to, that's what we're trying to hammer
That's what
out
we're
right
looking
now.
at right now.
So,
You want to amend your motion?
yeah, I would, so is it, I guess I'm asking the proprietors, would it be okay to do last call at 10, closing at 10:30 for the, when you were standing and talking about the times, you said until 10:30. I think I had written closing 10:30.
No, I heard last call. It was last call.
Last
10.
call at 10:30.
Okay.
I didn't mean to,
I don't know, it's,
Well, you close early in the winter anyways, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And we,
Tourist system.
yeah, we could do last call till 10:30.
Sorry, one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I allowed?
Yes.
yeah.
This is actually the nature of what I raised in my statement, was there are questions, and thank you for bringing that up, but, because you said both 10 and 10:30, and there's a big difference between last call at 10 and a last call at 10:30. And I think it would be really great if the last call was at 10, so that people are literally leaving, because we also know it's not just the patrons leaving, but then people have to clean up. So a restaurant might close, but it's not done, right? So I think actually being done by 11, because it last calls at 10, would be what we're asking for.
Are you happy if our doors are closed at 11?
No, that's not the point. If you do last call at
So we're
10.
gonna not have this.
what-
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how is
So
this
we-
negotiated, I guess?
You know, when last call happens at 10 or 10:30, whatever, whichever time, people are already starting to clean up when they call for last call. If they don't wait till 11,
Exactly.
just saying.
It's usually last call 10:30, out by 11. We're completely empty. It takes you, what, 10, 15
You
minutes?
can only, it says what will your
And when you do
business
last call,
hours be?
99.9% of the
And
people
that's where
are
you
gone
can
anyway.
only say what the business
They
hours.
know they
You
can't.
can't get into last call or, you know.
Yeah, as Laura has pointed out, the liquor license specifies what the business hours are. Really, whether it's last call or whatever is kind of the, is kind of moot, to be honest with you. So
So the-
your business hours, you're saying would be till people leave. That doesn't really fit either. Till 1 o'clock, they can stay?
So, no, they can't, okay.
I'm sorry, what, please, would you?
You gotta come up to the mic.
just come.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So I'm going to be there 99.9% of the time. Tracy, hi all. We do last call. I do last call at 10:30. So if you have 35 people in the pub, I would say 20 of them are going to say, oh, I'll have one more. So I do my one more, I'll take their ticket, I'll take their money, and I will start doing my cleanup and all my things. And they can sit and enjoy their pint. And then they're done and gone in that 10 or 15 minutes. So what we're saying is
what we're
last call
looking for-
10:30, out by 11.
Okay, so that's all we need. I think what John
Right.
was saying
So
is,
it'd be 11
for this
o'clock.
amendment, we need to
Like
know
to be
what the,
completely empty of customers, we're done by 11.
All right, so
And that's really only in we have 8 to 12 weeks of busy season.
right.
We're just covering ourselves. We'd rather be looking at it than looking for it. So it's pointless, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we said 10:30, out by 11. On Sunday evenings in the wintertime, we're closed at 6, 7 o'clock in the corner house.
Yeah.
May change because we have a new location, but we don't know that.
Yep.
But the sign on the door will say opening at X and closing at 11.
For sure. No, we're not going to close at 11. We'll have to say last call at 10:30, because if people know we're closing at 11, they're going to come in at 10:58 and expect a pint.
Well, you can say last call at 10:30. but
We'll
then-
say, that's what I'm saying, that's what we will say. Just
right, but for the application.
10:30. Last call, 10:30.
No,
So,
Let's
no,
say 11.
It's
Right.
business
11.
hours.
So we're
Yeah.
just looking for business
Yeah,
hours.
11,
So by 11 o'clock, doors are closed.
for sure.
Okay.
That's fine.
So
Yeah, I mean,
my amendment, so the amendment for this includes that the business hours the ending hour for business will be 11 PM.
Okay.
That's the,
Any further discussion on that?
sorry.
No, it's good, thank
anything
you.
more, David?
No, I'm sorry.
All right. I had a second
You did.
with the amendment, with the first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? So moved.
And when did we say we're bringing back the special?
We didn't specify
we
a
have to-
time.
I said it would be on the next agenda, August 28th.
So August 28th?
August 28th, okay?
I get notification back into you.
Correct, correct. And
Yeah, I
with-
would suggest after you've had a conversation with the neighbors.
Yeah.
You guys need to come in as a group and kind of come to an agreement.
Some guidelines down.
Yep,
Is that,
okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
thank you.
And we are, item 6. This is a consideration of a renewal of a liquor license, therefore no public hearing, submitted by Musit LLC located at 2 Pier Road. The staff has reviewed and recommends approval. Do I
So
have-
moved.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? So approved. Item 7. We need to appoint ballot clerks to work for the RSU 21 budget validation on August 28th. And I think, Tracy, are you going to, do we need to introduce?
Yeah, the names.
So we're just seeking them, we have the names, yeah? Yeah.
Jeez, we-
Yes, we're just having a very basic crew, and other than the staff who are
We're
employed by
having
the...
our superstar crew.
Yes, we are having our superstar crew. So I'm asking to nominate Diane Franz, Carol Cook, and Audrey Williamson to be poll workers that day, in addition to town staff.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Gratefully. All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay.
Now Alan Evelyn is with us to give us a presentation on the Town Hall Building Committee.
Got to short the microphone here. Thank you, John. I am Alan Evelyn, and I'm pleased to make the presentation on behalf of the Kennebunkport Town Hall Committee to the Select Board. There we go. The Town Hall Committee was reconstituted in January 2024. It includes 9 residents, 2 Select Board members, 3 members of Kennebunkport staff, consultants, and expert resources. What the committee was charged with, they were charged with recommending a site for a new municipal building, refine the building and design, present the findings to the Select Board, including a fully developed cost estimate and a detailed analysis of energy-saving options, all of which are coming up. Much of what we are presenting was driven by the feedback we received from the community questionnaire in January 2024, as well as the workshop last spring. It allowed us to especially focus on costs, size, benefits to the community, and details such as architectural design and renewable energy components. Every decision that we made incorporates that feedback. This is the second go-around for a new office this decade. There are many compelling reasons, a few of which are shown here, to drive us towards a new municipal office building. There are many inadequacies, all of which we covered in depth in last month's update to the board, and we'll see much more of that in upcoming videos which are prepared for the community. A study of 5 sites was performed and rated in 9 criteria. This led us to determine that 2 sites were acceptable to build the new municipal offices. The committee determined that 32 North Street was the better of the 2 possible sites due to lower initial costs and future savings, superior solar energy advantages, lower site cost development, lower environmental impact, use of an existing parking area at 32 North Street, this site precludes extensive tree removal, which would have been necessary at the village parcel, and also allows for future synergy with the village fire station. The new two-story design is over 1,000 square feet smaller, even though we have two sets of stairs, an elevator, and a 24-foot long corridor to the village fire station. The meeting room is 48% larger than the current meeting space and can hold over 150 people in a classic seating arrangement. As we've discussed, there are many benefits to the citizens of Kennebunkport. The new design looks like it belongs in Kennebunkport. Now, this is the town hall that I went to when I was a young boy. It was at the end of North Street, and it was moved in 1953 by contractor Arthur Hendricks, who was my Sunday school teacher. He moved it. I don't know how they moved it, but they must have taken this thing apart and put it back together, because this is a building bigger than anything Dickie Joyce ever hauled around, I'll tell you that. Anyway, the new design looks like it belongs in Kennebunkport. So you can see similarities in the way that the fan in front of the building. I mean, this is much more classic and much more Kennebunkport than our previous attempt. And that building, by the way, was built in 1901 and served as the town hall until 1953, at which point it was moved to this site right here where we are. And the Arundel Opera Company filled that building. I was very sad to see that building disappear, not that it became a church, but because there were lots of young ladies who performed at the Opera Company in the 1960s, and I was just getting very interested in those Boston University dancers that made the summer really light up in Kennebunkport. Our charge was to provide a detailed analysis of energy saving options, which relate to cost saving options. This is how the cost savings can be maximized through green, renewable energy sources. Number one, design the building for the least loss of heat or cooling. Number two, select equipment that has the lowest operating cost. So the building envelope has been designed for that, and the equipment that complements it has been selected. Derive as much energy as possible from our own natural sources, including solar panels. And finally, further reduce energy demand by 30% by adding a geothermal source for HVAC systems. The savings by the solar alone are expected to be 63% of the expected energy demand. When combined with a geothermal source, 91% of the expected energy demand would be covered. There's a lot of news focused on the energy required for artificial intelligence. While energy costs in Maine are at or are near the top of the entire country, there are still many challenges coming. Costs are predicted to soar in the coming years as AI is developed. A 10% annual inflation rate, according to some, is a conservative number. At a 4% annual inflation rate for electricity, the installation of solar panels on the new building and on a canopy over a portion of the new employee parking area provides payback in less than 15 years. Payback for the entire cost of the solar system. Installing a geothermal system in addition to the solar panels yields a similar payback, as well as a cumulative savings of over $1 million in costs in the first 20 years. At a 10% annual inflation rate, many people think that's a conservative number, the payback for both solar and solar plus geothermal occurs between 11 and 12 years. At a 10% annual inflation rate for electricity, the solar panels provide cumulative savings of over $1.3 million in the first 20 years, and the addition of geothermal increases this to almost $2 million. So this is a breakdown of the project costs for the new municipal building at 32 North Street. Base cost, $7,839,000. Addition with the construction design, permitting, engineering, and construction administration of $461,000, permit fees of $10,000, builder's risk insurance, $7,000. The Kennebunkport Wells District utility impact is $5,000, and by moving to R21 insulation instead of spray foam, there's a savings of $47,000. Brings the total project cost to $8.275 million. There are several categories of savings that can be applied. The $500,000 of fundraising is already in hand. An anonymous donor, as long as it goes towards the new town hall, there are no strings attached. There's a plan to use $1.25 million of capital reserve, and the sale of 6 Elm Street, this could bring $1 million or more. We've just pegged it at $1 million, but that is to be determined. At some point, if this is approved, we will go ahead and put that building up for sale. The net base project cost then is at $5,525,000. Options. So there's a list of optional considerations. Bird-safe windows at $27,000. Geothermal source at $400,000. Solar, panels on the town office roof and over the part of the employee parking area, canopy over that, $446,000. That would bring the net project with all of the alternatives to almost $6.4 million. We have not applied any energy credits to the solar application because that is most likely to disappear coming into 2027. However, we are told that the geothermal credits, which you see here, ground loop, heat exchange, tax credit, and then other possible credits for ceiling cassettes, the DOAS, dedicated outdoor air systems that incorporate energy recovery ventilators are designed to improve air quality and reduce heating and cooling costs. So if you put all of that in, that is a net of a little over $9 million. The offsets are $2.7 million, brings it out to $6,215,000. So for the ease of calculation, we've calculated two different bond packages, one at $5.5 million and one at $6.5 million. At $5.5 million, there would be an annual payment of $430,000. That means that the annual tax payment on a $500,000 home would be about $60. If the bond amount is $6.5 million, that raises the annual payment to $500,000, and the annual tax payment on a $500,000 home would be approximately $70.
That's not per month, that's annual.
Annual
Just so
tax,
I understand.
annual, that says annual.
I got it, I was underscoring for you.
Thank you.
You didn't hit it hard enough.
I know. There are also debt reductions. You can see there are 4 bonds that are being retired over the next 3 fiscal years, 27 through 29. Each of those being retired, they add up to $395,000 worth of retired debt, which will no longer be in your tax bill. So that means the net debt impact would be $30,000 to $100,000. This changes the actual annual tax payment on $500,000 home. So the bond amount is $5.5 million. That reduces the net annual debt payment to $30,000. And if you can believe it, $4 annual tax payment on a $500,000 home. At $6.5 million, net debt payment is $100,000 per year, and the annual tax payment on a $500,000 home goes to $14. So this is a pretty heavy set of numbers that we're going through tonight. I'm sure that anyone who's watching at home or anyone who's sitting in here probably is a little overwhelmed by all of the numbers that we've run through. However, we have put together 2 videos about the new building that are available on the Kennebunkport town website, featuring the town hall committee and its experts. I should say starring the town hall committee and its experts. Video 1 is the site selection and preparation. Video 2 is on the new municipal offices design. So next Monday, 6 p.m., we've scheduled a community meeting on the proposed new municipal offices here at the Village Fire Station. And we will be joined by our experts and consultants who will be part of that presentation that evening. Dave Powell, Kennebunkport Technology Specialist, has helped us put together these videos, painstakingly editing, rearranging video clips and slides. Dave, can you open up the link to the town website so people can see how to access the videos that are there?
Yeah, so I have a browser window open here, and the site to go directly to the videos, I'll read it out, is https://kennebunkportme.gov. That's the town website. Then you do a slash, and all together type new municipal offices, a # videos, and that will take you directly to the videos on the town website, where you can play these.
So video 1 is site selection video in preparation, featuring the town hall committee and experts. Video 2 is on the new municipal offices. And then following that, we have segmented the video 2 because it's somewhat longer, and the segments are beginning with what changed from the 2023 design, the architecture, everything about the building, benefits to the entire Kennebunkport community, designed in safety for convenience for the citizens of Kennebunkport, add-on opportunities for self-sustained energy, and an overview of the detailed cost estimate. So all of those videos, both segmented and entirely, are accessible now on the Kennebunkport website. Now, I have a minute to ask the board if they have any questions.
Just 1 minute? No, I don't have any, I mean, good job, you've all done a great job. I think you'll get more feedback on Monday.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, and then, I think we need a new town hall. If we can get this price, it sounds like it might be a good price.
The amount of energy that went into the entire committee and then the last few weeks on putting the videos together is a lot of work. But I think that we have, at least, we're going to tell the story, and it's going to be complete, and there should be no questions that anyone has on their way to decide yes or no.
Yep.
Yeah, you've done a great job.
No, a great job. The whole group have done a great job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
Thanks.
You have a hand up.
Yes.
Oh, we have a hand up. Don't go away, Alan.
Okay. Don't go far.
For those of us who,
You introduce yourself.
Paul
please.
Hogan, I'm sorry,
May-
Paul
may
Hogan,
not
Goose
know you.
Rocks. Hey, I couldn't find it on, a lot of people use phones to find things, and it's not on the homepage. I typed it in new
Yeah.
town hall
Yeah.
video.
So go to the,
Yeah, I just want to
Page.
know how you do it. if you
yeah,
didn't.
go to the page. Dave, can you bring it back
Yeah.
up?
I'm working on it.
The plan is that tomorrow we'll have a link on the front page, so you don't have to do this, but you go to community,
There's a link right here
municipal office project, okay? Click
in the
on
blue
that.
bar on the front page.
All right, click on it.
That takes you to the page for the town hall project, and the videos are at the bottom after this other information.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And one thing I found is phones are not a very good tool for doing the town website. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All righty, moving along with no other questions, we're on item number 9. This is a wastewater presentation on some proposed amendments to the unit formula. Our wastewater division, Eric LaBelle is here, as well as Peter Conroy.
Hi, thank you for having us. We have a couple of items we just wanted to cover with you folks relating to the wastewater department. And so I'm going to kind of introduce you to Peter. Peter, our operations manager. I think hopefully most of you have met him at this time. And he'll do the presentation on what we've been seeing is a lot of variability in the type of building that's been going on, and we're just trying to make sure or try to assess what might be more equitable or look for some solutions on making things a little more equitable on the building side. So I'll let Peter step in.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I know all of you. My name is Peter Conroy, and I'm the operations manager for wastewater for the town of Kennebunkport. Let's make sure this works. So what we started with here was looking at a way to kind of revise the current sewer billing structure. We're looking at it from a multi-prong approach. We talked to some other communities, and the one that seemed to fit for us, for our opinion, was going to number of bedrooms per property. The objectives here were improve the equity, ensure consistency, and enhance efficiency. Some of the background, the current billing structure is one dwelling equals one sewer unit. What we noticed as I started looking at this was, regardless of size, a one-bedroom apartment and a 7-bedroom, 5-bathroom house are the same equivalent. We were looking at ways to try and make this a little more equitable. The current limitations that are there, it doesn't reflect the actual wastewater impact. Multi-bedroom homes generally generate more wastewater, and it's less equitable for smaller buildings like I discussed. Sewer billing for us is, is access to a service. It is not just your consumption. So the infrastructure that we provide always must be ready to serve whatever possible loading could be there. I know that we are seasonal, so I kind of wanted to touch on that because, I hear a lot of people come and ratepayers and tell us, well, I'm only here for a month in July. Yes, but I don't get to pick, and neither does the wastewater department as a whole, what month you come. So if you come in July or decide to come back for leaf peeping season, we have to be ready to provide that service 365 days a year. The proposed new approach, as you'll see here, we have gone to a bedroom-based model. 0 to 3 bedrooms was our initial count for one unit. That means anything that is 0 to 3 bedrooms would be one unit. Anything that was 4 bedrooms would get an additional 0.33, 5 bedrooms an additional 0.33, and from there on up, every additional bedroom on site would be 0.33 units. Some of the key points there, bedrooms in multiple structures are counted together. Properties with less than 3 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms would be unaffected. That's approximately 51% of what we've seen from our codes. The additional, I'd also like to say that some of the things that have come up, and one key point was the additional revenue gathered from this will be allocated back into the system to drop the cost of the sewer per unit. Some people ask, why bedrooms? Simplicity and predictability. For us, it's easier to administer. We understand it. The administration understands it. The ratepayers understand it. And it's easy to understand exactly what you're paying for and what you're asking for. Stable revenue forecasting kind of lets us know where it's coming from and what we're going to do with it. Using the bedrooms as an approximation for wastewater use, we put it here in simple forms. Bedrooms equal occupancy equals wastewater capacity. So for any of you that are out there on septic, you know that if you build a 5-bedroom house, you have to have a septic system that is able to accept 5 bedrooms worth of loading. Now, you may only have 1 or 2 people in these bedrooms, but your system still has to be built to accommodate it. The sewer system is very similar. We have to be able to accommodate every house. If everybody decides to fill every room here 365 days a year, that is the service that we provide. It's fairer than flat fees, and again, the ability to handle maximum capacity is what we're trying to focus on here. Not so much capacity from how many houses we can build, but capacity for each share of what's coming in at peak loading times. There's no water meter needed. We kind of looked at some options that had water meter data. It gets expensive for sub-meters. There's an additional cost also to going out, checking the meters, going to KK&W and having them send over the data. We'd also have to pay for any sort of sub-meters or anything we wanted to put in, install them and maintain them. There's an additional cost as well as the administration for all of these things. It also supports infrastructure planning. The bedroom data aids in our sewer capacity planning and our infrastructure upgrades. The proposed implementation timeline, We would like to propose doing a legal review of our wastewater ordinance and propose amendments to the Select Board, October 2025. A detailed communication plan will be distributed to property owners and public starting in November of 2025, and then we would update the systems accordingly. Any appeals or disputes related to bedroom counts would be handled through our standard review process, which we will be beefing up via the Public Works Department. In conclusion, we feel that this is a more equitable, more efficient billing model. It aligns with the actual system usage or capacity. New billing structure allows for lower sewer rate per unit, designed to benefit both utility providers and residents. This will not affect your tax assessments or property values in any way, and it does not discourage larger homes, but assures that users that require greater capacity pay their fair share. With that, I would love to hear your feedback.
I think it's a great idea.
Great.
I mean, you've explained this to us before. I think it makes total sense. You know, if you do have the sewage, access to sewage, it should be based on a fair and equitable rate. We're not going to go to meters. The easiest way to do it is bedroom size. If you're on septic, you fully understand how you have to have septic systems that support the number of bedrooms you have. So I don't have a problem with this.
I agree with David. I think it's doable for sure. Yeah.
Any concerns, Joe?
So go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't think, so again, when we talked before in our one-off conversations with Eric and Peter, so my concern is that I agree with what David and Alan agreed to, if we were what I would say is a normal community, meaning that we were highly residential and people lived here year-round. But we are not that. So so for me, equitable gets basically thrown out the door then. So if there was a way to say, we're going to base it on bedrooms, but we want to know how long you're occupied. If you had like some kind of like a two-tier thing, if they're not a full-time residence, you know, so my problem is that for me, it's not equitable. It's because we have at least 40% of our residents are not year-round. And also number of bedrooms that they have are not used all the time. So there's people in this community that have bedrooms that are deemed bedrooms but used as studies, or bedrooms are used as guest rooms and guest rooms are only occupied. Our community is a highly aged community. Majority of people are empty nesters. Kids come home for holidays. They're not there all year. So I actually don't think it's equitable to go off of a bedroom size for those reasons. I think you're looking for something, you know, to David's point, and Alan's, you know, you're looking for something to look at capacity, but that to me doesn't answer capacity. And then in our conversations, you had brought up, you know, one of the problems of these other buildings being built on properties and they're being used for bedrooms. But we aren't going to be able to actually count those. So we have units that we know of that are coded, and we know that they have bedrooms, and they're following the law. And then we have other people that seem to have these other units that are stuffing them with beds that we're not going to have a line of sight to. So I would actually like to figure out how to solve that problem, because I think that's the one that's going to impact our capacity versus this. I just think it's, you know, we're trying to let people stay in their homes, you know, and if I'm an empty nester,
Yeah,
I don't want to be, you know, if I'm two people in a home and I've got 4 bedrooms, I don't want to be tipping that scale because I'm not using it. So if there was a way to say the usage of the bedrooms, you know.
But how are you going to do that?
But
I mean, again,
but that's
I don't want to
you
be
know.
cynical, but to trust people to tell me not only how many months they're staying in a home, but then how many of those bedrooms are actually using. What are we gonna do? We're gonna go in and inspect that? Are we gonna have them sign something? That just doesn't sound workable. To me, this is more equitable than what we had before. It ain't perfect, but you can't let the perfect be the enemy of good enough.
But I don't see, so I strongly disagree with you on equitable. This is not equitable to
It's
me.
more equitable
It
than
is
what it
not
was.
more equitable because, just because I have bedrooms doesn't mean it's being used. So if you want to go to equitable, then let's put our money where our mouth is, and let's pay the money or whatever we have to do to get the water usage. That is equitable, not the number of bedrooms I have. Water usage is equitable. You want equitable? Go get the people that want to water their yard and do whatever, get the water usage. Get the water usage, and that's equitable. But number of bedrooms, I appreciate, and again, I appreciate that you guys are doing work and you're coming forward to the board to bring a solution, but I don't see the path to the sea on this one. I don't see how number of bedrooms is going to help us predict revenue and capacity. It doesn't square up for me. I feel that there was a problem that when I was listening to before is that people are building bigger homes, they have more bedrooms, and also there's these units that are being stuffed with beds that we don't know where they are, and to me that doesn't solve this. And then there's capacity. Well, capacity is capacity. You have to look at what the usage is and build from there on what you're building.
The usage is today. The usage is not what could hit you tomorrow. If you just do usage and you've got 5 homes out there with 5 bedrooms, each is just using 1 bedroom for a year, you say, okay, my usage is this. This is my capacity. This is what I build to. And then all of a sudden, all 5 bedrooms get filled. You're flooded because the water goes way up, and oh my God, I'm not prepared for that.
So what do
No,
I
the
do?
bedrooms are what you prepare for.
Okay, so now let's talk about, because whenever you put any kind of guidance in here, right? So whatever you think about is you write a law down, you make an edict, you do something, and what do you have to prepare for is people working around the system, right?
Amen.
So that's what you do. So now I have a den, I have a pull-out couch. I have 2 people on the pull-out couch. Are those people going to be charged for the pull-out couch? I have chairs that fold out into beds. So we're looking, and I get it, you're looking for something that says bedrooms, but it's more about the usage. It's the water usage that is happening in these homes. It's occupancy of these homes. So if you want to go back and say, how many bedrooms is there 2 residents that live there? We know who lives in our towns. We have residents. So why don't we go by occupancy then versus by number of bedrooms? I think this is a great discussion, but I'm afraid that you're trying to feel good about this, and there's too many holes. There's too many things that are going to happen that, there's other ways, there's other things that are happening. If you're truly trying to solve for capacity, you're not going to get there by this.
We got the point. Are there other pieces of input? Sean, did you
Yeah.
say you wanted to? Or Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm all for equity and fairness. I'm also for accuracy. And I've never lived in a place that didn't calibrate your wastewater usage to your water usage. I don't think it's accurate to do it with, this is a chainsaw, and I think we need a knife. So also, I don't see how usage would seem to me to be the best predictor of future capacity, as opposed to bedrooms or no bedrooms. I think, John, you made a good point. Is this a bedroom? 70 square feet ingress, egress requirement, that's a bedroom. But a lot of people, do you use it as a media room? Do you use it as a study? Are you using it as a workshop? I just think this is a non-accurate approach to try to get to the goal, which is fairly charging people for what they actually use and need.
Well, that's certainly part of the goal. The other goal is to be able to be prepared for what might be coming in the future. So you've got to build to capacity. What's the potential that's going to come there? So there's two sides to it.
But you can
But
do.
two numbers are known. You could know that number, and I hear what you're about.
What's the downside
But-
of water in and water out?
The issue with the water usage is,
Explain
I
that
came
to
from
us.
Portsmouth before here, San Francisco before that. They both use water usage. What you'll see on your bill if you ever live in any of those places is there's a fixed cost on all of them. So what we do here is kind of spread that out amongst the flat fee. So in Portsmouth or San Francisco, what you have is, for instance, a $300 charge is automatically added to your bill regardless of usage to cover your infrastructure, which is what we're talking about. Then from there, there's a small amount of things, we've kind of discussed them all, chemicals, air, maybe some electricity. They'll take that and kind of take the usage to cover those costs. But the main percent, 90% of your costs is going to be built into your bill no matter where you live. How they take that capacity and break it out per unit is up for debate. I don't think it's any more accurate to say that you use it based on usage, because you're still going to have to pay for the infrastructure, your share of the infrastructure.
I don't have a problem paying for the infrastructure, but if I use 1,000 gallons of water a month, and the city of Atlanta or Portland, when I lived in Portland, says, you had 1,000 gallons in, we're going to charge you for 1,000 gallons of wastewater.
Yep.
Absent irrigation systems in which
Sub-meter.
you could put a separate meter if you wanted to avoid the water in, water out. I just think that's that it's cost spreading, and I think that's a more accurate and equitable way to spread, whether it's the fixed or variable costs of the wastewater.
Nothing precludes you from sharing the fixed costs. I didn't follow that argument. Nothing precludes you from doing that if you go off of metered water.
Yeah.
And then to John's point about predicting future, to me, this doesn't help predict future. You know, you don't need to charge bedrooms to predict future. You just need to know what's going through the code offices, what's being applied for building permits, what people are building to predict the future. You don't have to charge them for the bedrooms. You just have to look at what's going through the
What would you do to predict it?
codes.
Can I ask, what would you use from them? What would be the parameter?
Well, the argument is that you're going to use bedroom sizes and we're going to charge on that. I'm saying that in itself, that statement itself doesn't mean that you're going to be able to predict. What you're going to use that, what you're saying is, I'm just using, there's more bedroom sizes, there's more bedrooms or whatever. You're going to be looking at what's coming through the building permits, what's being built to predict your usage.
Yeah.
You're going to be looking to see if the state of Maine keeps that law on the books and, you know, our permits go, our number of permits that we look at go away, and that opens up. You're going to be looking really quickly at that, about how does that predict usage?
Yeah.
You know, so it's how much can be built and what is the number, you know, on average, did the number of bedrooms per house go up year over year? Those are trends. Those are things that you look at, and that's the data that you use for predictability, not charging. Just look at the data.
Sean, you had something?
I appreciate. Sean Smith, Oak Ridge Road. I do appreciate the concerns that the board's presenting right now. But if we change the type of billing model in the sewer district to buildings, that's consistent with what the town does on other aspects of taxes. Because your taxes and your building prices are based on your number of buildings, not number of bedrooms, not how many people are living there. My tax bill is based off number of bedrooms paying into the school system, where my kids are now out of the school system, and I'm still paying for the school system. I do appreciate the understanding of making things fair and equitable, but that term in itself is very difficult to achieve when you try to factor in every little aspect of it. Because I would think you're going down a slippery slope if you're going to start talking about basing the tax bill on exact, or the sewer bill on exact usage, because you'll cause people who live here full-time to pay more of the sewer burden because the bill now will be distributed through what is usage and not potential usage. So people who live here are using it all the time are gonna get actually paying more for a system that has to be built to a capacity for a 5-bedroom house.
Right, so my answer to that is, it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it ain't broke right now, we charge. So right now, the residents of Kennebunkport are being subsidized by the people that do not live here as residents. We're being subsidized. We
Right.
pay 60%
Right,
of
but I'm
our
saying
revenue.
it makes the billing consistent with how the
60%.
town does everything else by
Six-
bedrooms.
60% of our revenue is based on people that don't live here full-time.
Yep.
So we benefit, residents of this town benefit for people. And for me, I understand and I appreciate your comments, but for me, it's apples and oranges, because your taxes are stuff that are based on your assessed value. That's market rate. That, to me, is something completely different. That's an apple and a chocolate bar to me in terms of talking about sewage usage, capacity and trying to predict it for future, and your assessment values and how the rest of the states all work in terms of your property value and how taxes are based for both state, local, and schools.
Right. So I'm understanding your point. You don't want it changed. I'm just saying, if we try to change it to billing per use, I don't think that would be the thing to do. I do understand if you want no change, that seems like that's how it's been, so that's how it is. But I think if there is change, going to
change that
5-bedroom would be consistent with how
Yeah.
the town does everything else.
So I want to change that would solve the problem. And I've been trying to figure out what the problem is. And what I think the problem is people are looking for predictability, which I don't think, or capacity growth, which I think there's other paths to the sea to get there, the ones that I mentioned. And the other thing is about equitability, about usage. And to me, that doesn't get achieved by talking about bedroom use, because it's not pure usage. It's just person has a bedroom. So you are actually, for people that don't have kids or don't have the bedrooms filled, but have that size house because they wanted it, or they had it before and the kids are gone, now they're paying more. So I don't see the equitability here. People are trying to say this is more equitable, and I'm saying, no, I don't see it that way. I see it actually less equitable.
Right. Understood.
But what I heard was that over 50% of the units in town will see no change in their bill.
Yes, actually,
Okay, right.
once the per unit's
Because it's
worked out,
3
it will be
bedrooms or
less.
less.
To actually get
So-
less.
Or 3 bedrooms or less will be billed at the same rate, whatever that rate becomes. But right now, we're paying $708. A single person in a 1-bedroom is paying $708.
Yes.
A single person in a 5-bedroom is paying $708.
Yes.
Correct.
8 people in a 5-bedroom, flushing a lot, are paying $708.
Correct.
So they are we don't have the capacity right now to measure that.
Yeah.
So the fairest way, in my opinion, is to sort of do it on the bedroom basis. That's how our real estate taxes are based on. And I think to some point, I get that a lot of the people in town do not live here year-round, so they're not using their toilets as much. And that's what we're talking about, toilets.
And washing machines.
And washers and all that, but wastewater. But at some point, the people who do live here would just, we subsidize a lot of the people who live here temporarily in a lot of other ways. And they do contribute, I'm not saying they don't contribute, but you can't get into real estate values because it's not a market value. And sometimes the lower end is actually subsidizing the taxes that are paid into the town because they're paying a higher percentage than they would if it was a market. But that's a whole other discussion. I think that this is, what you're trying to do is get it fair for the people who are in smaller homes. And I don't have a problem with what you're trying to do. I don't see that this bill, if you have, 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms, is going to really jump through the roof. It's going to save somebody with smaller homes a little bit of money, and for the most part, the people with the larger homes, I think, can absorb a little bit more money.
I think we've had some good discussion. The whole point of this was to get our feedback so the staff can develop the plan to move forward. But it seems like we've got some disagreement on what that plan is that we would ask them to move forward on. So I might just ask the sense of the board, if we were to, I've heard two things. One is, hey, change it to water usage, figure out a way to divide that and make it work. The other is to accept this approach of, tertiary bedrooms, or a third of a bedroom above the number 3. So if we were looking at those.
The third issue is, keep it like it is, do nothing.
Do nothing. All right, third one, to do nothing. We would like to give some direction, wouldn't we? So should we talk about that now and take an official vote of how to move forward?
Yeah, I think that, there are legal complications about how we would address bedrooms, some of the questions people have asked tonight. And we haven't spent that money on legal to start talking about that, because we wanted to talk to you guys first. I would tell you that several years ago, we did do a wastewater study. Alan will remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we did look at usage, and the board decided not to go forward with that because it created a big shift of cost onto residential customers. And it was also a large cost to maintain, because we had to pay the water district to get all that data. So we have looked at some of that in the past. And, as we see these changes in the community, we want to bring forward these discussion points as we encounter them, and the staff have given it some thought. So we are just trying to hone in on, where the general feeling of the board is, so that we can spend our time wisely.
I think, I don't know what the feeling of the rest of the board is, but, going back to this capacity issue, if you're looking for direction, I might offer that we pull the 2019 capacity study that was done and look at the assumptions made during that study, and see what has changed or not changed within the town. See if that study still seems relevant, and if we're trending and tracking that way, because we, as a town, made some assumptions of when we would have to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant. So I think that would be something that we should go into, especially while we wait to see where the state's headed.
It's a different issue, but it's a good issue. That's a different thing.
Well,
right?
no, because we were talking about, what's been brought up is capacity,
Well,
is
that one's a little
predicting
bit of a red
capacity.
herring on my part. Let me pull that one back.
Yeah,
It's
these
really
are-
the billing right now. Is what
And
we're
two
talking
different
about.
types of capacity. So capacity, as you're describing it, and it is a valid concern for all of us, is how many houses, how many dwellings we can put into the plant. But there's also the matter of the capacity of what flows through the plant at max, either hydraulically or solids-wise, organic loading. So in July, we are usually at max capacity for loadings. Sometimes, a couple of Julys ago, also hydraulic loadings. So there's two types of capacity we're kind of talking about there.
Right, and I think that, for me personally, that's, if you said, okay, what's more, our resources only have so much time, pick which one you want them to work on. Billing, we have. Capacity, we don't understand where the tipping point is. I'd rather have the team pull out that 2019, look at the assessment, look at the capacity, look at our growth permits, what's been trending, how many bedrooms, is it going up, is it down, is it just a few that are building the McMansions, or is that a real trend? And do we have to reassess or relook at this and pull that timeline in? I don't know what the timeline is. I don't know if the capacity is running out in 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, and then if we relook at these assumptions and these assumptions have gotten more egregious or less, we can either pull it out or push it back. To me, to me, from a town perspective, that's more relevant. That is more meaningful to get a true understanding of what our wastewater plant, because we do know we do know that there's a latitude, just like Pete's been bringing up, and we've been schooled in last July, right? So we do know that there's a latitude issue within this plant. When we're at peak capacity and we have a lot of rain, we have issues. So that should be looked at within that 2019 report, and that should eat up some of the latitude window about capacity.
Certainly a good suggestion, hope, and direction to work on that. But let's talk about billing. So now on the billing issue, how does the board feel?
I think, I'm in favor of the billing issue. I think it's a great idea.
I'm in favor of the proposal.
I'm in favor of the proposal.
I think we might have two others that would like to see water.
I would either like to see water or come up with another solution that may be different, that's more relevant to the usage
So
side.
let's go back and try to look for something that might be more tied to actual usage.
I think
if
that's what
possible.
Joe was,
Yeah, I don't know that 3 bedrooms is the right number. If we're gonna use a rougher tool, then I don't know that the 3 bedrooms is the right number. And whatever you return with, I'll listen to it and give it due consideration.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Board members, if you're taking public comment, we have 2 hands raised on Zoom.
Sure, Paul Hogan's got.
All right. We have one local. Let's take Paul Hogan first, and then we'll be there.
Paul Hogan, every place I've lived, it's always been based upon water as well. I'm just surprised to think it's going to be that costly to get a spreadsheet once a month or however they pick the bills.
Yeah, at the time we talked to the water district, and this, I can't remember the year, but it was several years ago. At that time, they were gonna charge us $12,000 a year.
Thank you.
I don't know what it would be today, yeah.
But it was 7 or 8 or 10 years.
Yeah, it was quite a few years, yeah.
And it was gonna change a lot of different, I think the residents would have been paying
Also,
a lot
it puts
more
a
money
heck of
if it
burden on
went
the
water to
residents.
water.
Well, I mean,
From
when
what
I
it-
lived it away, I always thought I was subsidizing the residents. Now that I'm a resident, I'm happy that I'm being subsidized by the summer people. So, but it is a serious subsidy. I mean, what's our percentage use in January or February, our flow versus July? Is it 20%, 30%?
It's probably about 33%.
Yeah, so it's a huge subsidy currently.
Yep. Online.
We have someone identified as 245360. Please identify yourself and
Translate
you can
that to
speak.
English.
Sorry about that. This is Bill Yunker speaking. I'm going to throw another monkey into the wrench.
Bill,
and
you would say you're from Goose Rocks, is that correct?
What's that?
Where do you live, please?
I live down at Goose Rocks Beach.
Thank you.
I see the increase in the unit formula for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bedroom houses, but I don't see a reduction in the unit formula for 1 and 2 bedroom houses. If we're talking about fairness, let's get real. That's it.
Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I'd like to address that. So this was just kind of an informative session. So if we did decide to go this route, and that's the board's final decision, we would then calculate what the difference would be and put that back towards the Route 1. We think it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10% reduction in a bill per unit.
So, Bill, that number will be coming, it will be going down.
And next we have Lisa. Lisa, you may speak. I see you've unmuted yourself, Lisa, but we can't hear you.
Okay, I think we're gonna, sorry, Lisa, technical issues.
I think it's on her end.
Oh, I think so too, but it's still a technical issue.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on, because I think you're still at the podium for us.
Yeah.
All right,
This one's Eric.
so this is number 10, this is the wastewater wastewater presentation on the annual billing time period, and thoughts on how to get that more in line with our fiscal year.
Yes, okay. Okay, so currently, in 2002, we moved into a fiscal year from July 1 to June 30th. So all of our departments were aligned at that time, in that time frame. So, however, on the wastewater billing, we are currently we're billing in May, which is the 11th month of our fiscal year. So we're not really well aligned with the cash flow, if you will, of the town's fiscal year's cash flow. So we are, we're misaligned for.
You're 11 months behind.
Effectively, yes. So we're gathering all our funding at the very end of our fiscal year, because that was never changed. It was done, which typically in the past would have been on a January to December, would have been in the 5th month, but now it becomes the 11th month when they switched that over in 2002. So currently, what's happening right now, this is our current billing process now, is our fiscal year begins July 1, we go all the way until May, and then we do our annual billing at this time, and then our fiscal year then ends. So we're basically being supported by the town, if you will, for cash flow, because July 1, effectively, we have, our budget begins, then we really don't have revenues until May of the following year. What we're proposing is to better align ourselves, also provide some opportunity with, for the public to be able to pay twice a year. So we're thinking about moving to a more spread out payment schedule. So we would start our fiscal year July 1, as we do now. We would bill in November on the 5th month of our fiscal year, and then we would bill a second half of the bill in May of the fiscal year, the 11th month of the fiscal year, and then we would end our fiscal year in June. That would be much better aligned with the town's current accounting and also cash flow process. And as you all know, the process, we're right there with the town when we come in every March and set our budgets up and such with you folks. So that would be better aligned with that process. So what we're proposing is really two options here. One would be that we would, in November of next year, so for the FY27, we would bill in November a half a bill. So understand that we would bill normally as we would in May for the past fiscal year, basically 11 months in arrear for that fiscal year. But then we would bill again a half a bill in November of 2026 for the FY27 fiscal year. That for some, even though you're paying within the fiscal year, the way we look at this, they would be paying the first half of that fiscal year within a calendar year, which could be a concern for some people. So that is one of the concerns, that people may view this as being paying 1.5 times a bill in that calendar year. If they view their billing, their fiscal year, if you will, in a calendar year, it may be perceived in that fashion. So, and if that's a hardship for people, that's certainly one of the concerns that we would have.
That's just a one-time deal, right?
It is a one-time, and then we would be billing every 6 months in that cycle, in a 6-month cycle.
And it's how many months into November? So that would be June, July, August, September, October. So it'd be 6 months later. So they'd be, even though they paid a year, they would now be paying for a half year later.
Right.
But it's within the same 12 months, and that's your concern.
Right,
That
it's in
if
the same calendar
a
year.
family had budgeted 12 months, then they would be hit with that.
Exactly.
So it's a cash flow to them.
It's, it could be, of course, this would be November of 26. So if, depending on how the board wanted to move forward, it would certainly be an educational process that we would go through, make sure everybody understood what was going on. And for both businesses as well as residences. Residences, the bill right now as it stands, our bill is $708, so that would be basically $354 for that November, billing for residents, for a residence. So, so there'll be a need for education, if that's the way we want to go, to better align ourselves with the fiscal year that we're in. So the second option was really to possibly borrow from ourselves, if you will, and then pay back on a 5 to 10 year cycle.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I think the first option is the best. Get it done and over with.
So I would say is the first option, and then just like we do with taxes, if there are some if there are some people that need some support, you know, they could go on a payment schedule for the first year when there's an overlap, you know, and you're going to be doing this a year ahead. So if we did decide as a board, like you said, we could start the communication process and people could forward plan for this double dip.
$50
for this,
a month, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, certainly.
I
That's
like
certainly
that.
good.
And that way there, you'd have your own money.
Well,
Right.
Well, we want to get it in
You wouldn't have to borrow money.
You don't have to
The
borrow
town
money
would
from.
be able to keep our money.
Right, you have to borrow money from the
We got-
town and
yeah.
then.
That is one of the
payback
conclusions
and
here.
interest.
to-
You've been leeching off the,
Yeah, we should send you a tax bill.
It's-
Interest charge.
How many rooms do you have? How many bedrooms do you have in that
I got
building?
3 rooms at the treatment plant. But okay, so the conclusion is really just better, you know, basically better align ourselves with the municipal operations, long-term sustainability and the responsible use of the town's resources.
So what are you looking for?
Well, if the option
motion.
1 is the direction the board would like to go, we will proceed in that fashion and we'll begin our educational programs, make sure people understand what's going on and such.
I would support option 1.
So, want to make a motion?
I don't think we really
John's
need to.
John's
make a
gotta
motion.
make-
to support
Well, actually, I
option
don't
one.
think we need, this is not really a voting, it's just, again, getting the sense of the board. So as the first one was, and I think we're pretty much unanimous on this one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
go for it. Go forward. So we'll move on to item 11. This is to consider a change order number 5 for the GEI work at the Cape Porpoise Pier.
Eric LaBelle.
Didn't we just hear from you?
I don't remember. So, yes. So we, GI has provided us a change order for work that's gone on. As you know, there's been a lot of changes at the pier, some of them raising the pier, a lot of grading changes there because of the elevation changes and such. So that's the general construction work services that basically they're asking for, $68,250. There's the contaminated soils mitigation that we had to address, which that was $25,000. That's for managing that aspect, also getting the necessary permitting, bringing in the DEP and such, and rectifying that issue. We had a water main extension there as well. They're requesting $15,750 for that aspect, and that was for the water main expansion. Initially, it was somewhat designed to be on the smaller water main that was there. We're concerned that the restaurant would be depleted of water. And then there was some additional permitting that needed to happen, and that's for $5,000. And the complete amount for for all of those change orders would be $14,000. $114,000, I'm sorry. Yep.
So I'm looking at I'm looking at the 11, and it says here that this change order would leave a contingency balance of $114,000. Is that what's going to be left after?
No,
this?
that was an error on my part.
Okay.
The actual contingency balance you can see on the last page of this section is $756,000.
Okay, I thought that was.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
that was
no,
the case.
good catch.
Okay,
Good.
I just wanted to make sure.
I'm off, I don't know, didn't we pay for soil mitigation in the last change order?
So we,
We pay for the work, but not the consulting fee.
Oh,
right,
okay.
right. So, yes, that's correct.
This is consulting fees for
Gotcha.
everything.
Okay, I don't have a problem.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a
Want to read the
Make a
motion?
motion to approve the change order number 5 for the Cape Porpoise Pier project.
Second.
For first and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Before you go, can we just get a quick, so in August, they were supposed to go to the different,
To the south pier.
to the South Pier, did that happen, or?
They're not there yet.
So we're possibly pushed back a little bit for a finish date?
You know, I'm anticipating October. I think right now they're finishing up the floors and such for the bait shed. Next step, they should be decking the north pier. And at that point, that's when they'll begin to move over to the south pier. So the decking, I don't imagine will be that long. All the substructure is all in place right now.
You said October. You said,
Completion, for completion,
for completion.
yes, yeah.
It sounded like you were saying October.
No,
before
no,
they
no,
move.
no, my apologies, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there was a fair amount of utility work that needed to go on underneath the
Sure.
the bait shed right now. That was a little bit complex. And so, right now, next step is to get the decking done, and then they'll be moving to the south pier. So is it gonna happen in the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
I probably wanna ask and have another check-in.
Fair.
I got there late today and they were gone, so.
But there's no major holdup that we know about. That's,
And then the
No.
paving that's gonna be done in the spring, is that, based on our weather and stuff, is that gonna impact, like, how late or early in the spring can that happen, where they can finish?
Well, they're gonna pave, it'll be binder this year. So they will be paved, the first layer of pavement will be done this year.
Okay,
Yeah, we will come back in a year, sometime next year, and just do the surface pavement at that
okay,
point.
because I thought I read in the spring next year, they got a punch list and they're doing paving.
Yeah, they'll do the second layer of pavement.
Okay,
Yeah, but it will look
Done.
as if it was the last layer. On the pier road itself, though, the sergeant is gonna be coming in and paving that this year. So there'll be a little bit of a.
On the
but that's-
causeway.
reclaim
the
Remember that
causeway.
we haven't had the second layer of pavement there.
Right, similarly, we let things settle out a little bit, so.
And we didn't want to do it this summer with everything else going on.
yeah,
That's a good
especially
call.
with the one-way, yeah.
and the big trucks.
All righty.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Yes. So number 12, we have 4 ordinances that we need to discuss.
Can we take a 3-minute break?
Yeah. We're calling a 3-minute break? Yes.
3 minutes?
Absolutely. Well, 5.
Well, I'm in you.
Okay, mics are back on.
Set yourself up.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get back, calling back to order. It's 7:59 as we're reconvening. Item number 12, this is a November ballot ordinances. I think I introduced this earlier. We have 4. We have Nadia with us in person. I think we have Galen. Galen, can you say hello?
He's muted.
Hey there.
Great. We have Galen with us remotely. So take it away, Nadia.
Hi, my name is Nadia Crockett-Curran. I'm the Code and Planning Coordinator for the town of Kennebunkport. I'm here to talk about the short-term rental ordinance update, the floodplain management ordinance update, and the land use ordinance update. So to start off, we'll start off with the short-term rental ordinance. We have a couple of changes that we're proposing here this year. One of them, the first one that I'll bring up, is something we actually heard from a resident in town about the basically the inclusivity of our transferability language. She is thinking about applying for a license and noticed that she did not have the option to transfer that license to a sibling in the event that it was left in a trust for the benefit of that sibling. So we talked to the attorney and she agreed that there was no issue with adding that in. As a sibling is still immediate family, it's well in keeping with the spirit of that section of the ordinance. So we've added language to include a current owner's sibling and the niece or nephew of a current owner to kind of expand that immediate family definition just a little bit from spouse, children, and grandchildren. We also are proposing to update, as the ordinance language stands, the town clerk is the responsible party for pretty much every part of the ordinance, and we're updating that to the code enforcement officer. This is not actually a change of procedure. Currently, code enforcement handles all of the issuing and approvals of short-term rental licenses. We talked to Tracy, we talked to Lori, everyone is okay with this change. So no toes are being stepped on, and it is just kind of an update to reflect our current procedure as it stands. We're also including a provision for denial. So if an application is determined to be incomplete, containing misleading information, or the property does not qualify, allowing the code enforcement officer to deny an application upon receipt. So for a new application, this doesn't apply to renewal applications, as opposed to having anybody who is denied come before the select board. Just kind of a cleaning up of the process. If somebody wants to appeal that decision, they are allowed to come to the select board to appeal a denial. So it is still allowing for that resident to select board communication, but taking the board out of that very first step. We are also adding a definition for lodging establishment. This is this is a recommendation from our attorney. Just to clean up our language a little bit again, lodging establishment as it stands in our ordinance is a little bit of a gray area and doesn't really transfer over to the short-term rental ordinance very well. So we want to clean that up just to separate that definition for hotel basically from a short-term rental. The next section that we're looking to add is kind of a reaction to LD 1829, which I think that you guys are familiar with, at least broadly, which is the new state legislation that was passed to allow 4 dwellings on a 5,000 square foot lot and to enforce a maximum minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. So in order to kind of get ahead of that a little bit, we're not looking to become a town where people build these big multiplexes on tiny lots and make them into short-term rental hubs, basically. So this is language to limit the number of licenses per lot to either 2 licenses on a single lot or 50% of the total dwelling units on the lot, whichever one is greater. So if you had 6 dwelling units on a lot, you could have 3 licenses. If you have 3 dwelling units on a lot, you can only have 2.
So this one, do we want to, we're covering a lot of stuff. So is it okay if let's just interrupt when we hit the ones, or do you want to cover it all and have us go back and talk about the individual ones? Or what is the board's desire on that?
How many more do you have for this one?
Short-term rental.
1.
Okay,
Why don't
why
we
don't you
finish that and then we'll.
So our last change, we're looking, so there's some confusing language currently in our ordinance that kind of vaguely mentions the need to comply with building codes. This has caused some consternation in our office, and we're looking to scratch that language and include language under the performance standards to require egress windows that meet the current code requirements in short-term rentals. And that's all of the things that we're adding.
Righty.
Does anyone have any questions about specific sections?
I have one about the, first I'll start with the denial.
Sure.
So last go around, we got an awful lot of time. People missed the time window. Are we changing language for that? Or we had an awful lot of people missed the timing window and it ate up a lot of board time for multiple meetings. Is there anything we're doing differently within the wording or just in the process itself?
So that is kind of up to the board. So I would not say that that fits into this specific denial scenario, because if someone hasn't submitted an application at all, we don't really have anything to deny. So you may remember last year the board approved a couple of extensions to apply for an application, but the denial specifically is if we receive like an incomplete application. So if someone submits half an application and they don't pay the fee, I would consider that incomplete. And anyway, we try to reach out to people. If I'm the one who handles all of the short-term rental licensing. If I notice someone hasn't paid the fee, and I'll check up over the few months that we have the portal open, I will reach out to them a few times just to make sure that they understand that we need to get the rest of their application, that we need to receive the whole thing in order to approve it. So those we would be able to deny. I think that we can certainly hear from the board what you would like to do in terms of people who haven't started submitting an application by the deadline. For new applications, I would say across the board, we've said, no, you had this window to apply. For renewals is where I think it gets a little bit stickier.
Yeah, the renewal is where we got
We had the
stuck.
problem with the renewals last year, where
Last
they
year.
had started and either they didn't hit send, or they started, or some of them
Forgot.
were in Mexico
or
and
their
couldn't get,
agent
the
or
tree
their
couldn't get
agent,
it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think maybe
There weren't
if
that many.
if
there weren't
there's,
that many, there were like a handful.
but it went for multiple meetings.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think we'd have that conversation once you open the portal about making it perfectly clear that it's gotta be here by the deadline.
Yeah, I think those were growing pains too. I doubt we'll see as many.
We are using the same portal as we used last year, so
Well,
there
I
should
think
be
when
no
we
more
get to
confusion
that,
about that.
when you open the portal up and for people to start applying, I think we will make it very clear at that point that midnight on whatever day it is midnight, no matter what your excuse is.
Okay, and if the board is comfortable with that, we also will advertise that before, as we're sending out information, before the portal officially opens.
Yeah, just don't miss the deadline.
Don't miss
Yes.
the deadline.
And there will be 4 months in which to apply, so it should be a pretty, try to make it pretty manageable.
and then I guess I'll just jump right in.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so amendment 4 and 5 for the inspection process on life and safety. So in that one, that's the egress windows.
That's correct.
And so that's where, so where I am on this one is a no. And the reason why is because I go back to, again, what problem are we trying to solve? And I go back to the premise of why short-term rental ordinance was put in place. How was it explained to me when I joined the board? Was the problem we were trying to solve at that time with the short-term rental ordinance was, VRBOs, losing the look and feel of residency within our town with a lot of VRBOs, changing that look and feel of our residential area. And then also with a lot of venture capitalists coming in during COVID, buying up property, and then going into a pure rental community because we are a resort community.
And upping prices. home
And upping
That
prices.
was-
And so I think the short-term rental, I think the ordinance, the work done between the town and the residents to solve that problem, I highly commend, because I think it was a lot of good work in reading through the ordinances very well, written and documented. But to then use that ordinance to take that next step to say, okay, what are we solving for now? And this is where I can't answer that question, because it's not a short-term rental issue. Egress windows is, if the town is saying that we need to ensure safety for all renters or all residents, then I think that's a different discussion that's outside of the short-term rental agreement, and we should talk about a different, broader ordinance that says at some point in time, every building in town will have egress windows, at least one, in a residence. To me, this feels like, because we came forward with the short-term rental agreement, I feel the town is now taking one step too far with this and saying, now we're gonna start looking, we wanna add this safety thing. If I was looking at it from the other side of the fence, I would say, okay, I lost trust with the town because this was the reason why we have this agreement, and now the town took another step, and now what's the town's next step? And so that, to me, feels like me as myself as a board member, I am breaking an agreement almost with the residents when we formed the short-term rental agreement. Now, if you guys from code come back and say, hey, I really think we have an egress window problem, then I think we should address that at an ordinance. Or in talking with my board members, it's been said to me, well, people get money for renting these rooms. So my answer to that one is, then if that's the case, then every B&B, every hotel, anyone that rents a room, long-term renters, not just short-term rentals, I feel like we have this ability to get a license, and we went too far. But again, if there is an egress window problem in this town, I think it should be addressed through a different discussion.
Sure, I think that's, and if anyone else wants to jump in before I address Mary Beth's comments, please go for it.
No, I mean, Mary Beth, I come at it as when this came up before from a different perspective. I think on a short-term rental, we are providing a license for someone to make money off of their property. And I think in order to have a license, you can have requirements for what is part of that license. And I don't have a problem with an egress window being a requirement for a bedroom in a short-term rental. I know some people have brought up, what about the rest of the town? It's different. If you are an owner-occupied home, and you're not renting it out, then that's a whole other discussion. But these are becoming, I understand that some people do rent it for income, just be able to pay taxes or whatever. But we have 53 licenses in this town that are owned by limited liability corporations. So those are businesses running commercial businesses and operating basically a vacation rental business. And I think at some point, what we tried to do in the beginning and where we are now is changing, and that nature is changing. And I think for new licenses, it should just be a requirement. If you don't have an egress window, you don't get a license. And then maybe for people who have them, and we give them a time period.
Give them a time period
to
meet.
Let them know, kind of like what we're doing with wastewater, like it's coming and you need to be prepared, or you need to offer up your license because we have people on a waiting list. So.
I think it needs to be longer than a year.
Well, a year or 2 years, I'm fine.
I would be okay if, you give I mean, I get what you're saying, and I get what you're saying, but.
Well, that's because you're in the middle of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the bottom line is they are making money on, and you don't know who you're gonna get in there. You don't know who you're renting to really. And I think that, that they should have an egress window. But they also should, I know, and sometimes, in some instances, it's gonna cost a lot more money than others, because every building's different, and I would like to see a 2-year moratorium, not a moratorium, but a 2-year
grace period
window
yeah.
for them to replace it,
or
fix it.
So can we then, so I don't want to just, so again, I go back to what you guys just said. So what I heard is people are charging money. So then, if I'm thinking of getting sued, if I'm representing the town and thinking about trying to stay out of lawsuits, I feel like we are basically picking on short-term rentals because we give them licenses. So I would, if we believe that this is relevant for safety, then I think we have to open the aperture on this and say anyone renting a room for a long-term person also has to have an egress window. Bed and breakfasts have to have egress windows. Our inns, our hotels here, who get licenses from us for food and drink, also have to get egress windows. I think it's, the argument falls flat on me when we do that. And again, we have to look at this from how people see it and what are their courses of actions. And I do believe if I do the balance test in my head of, is this fair to this group? Are we doing something different to this group versus other groups? Then that answer is, to me, a yes, which then I walk away from this.
I do want to, push back a little bit. I think I'm hearing the assumption that many businesses aren't required to do this, and I do believe it is when a commercial business comes in, if people are sleeping in the rooms, they are required to put in egress windows. So though your hotels and motels, we would require them to put those in.
So Colony and Known Anthem all have egress windows in their rooms?
I'm gonna, Derek, our code officer, is gonna come up. He can talk to you about the codes a little bit.
I'm Derek, Code Enforcement Officer
Hey,
for Kennebunkport. So yes, they do have egress windows. If they don't have egress windows, then they have sprinklers.
They have
Okay.
what?
They have sprinklers.
Oh, okay.
So if you
And
have
then-
sprinklers, then you don't have to have the egress windows.
So the hard iron pipe sprinklers.
Correct. And those, North Anthem, for example, they have sprinklers. Colony, I haven't been in Colony, so I don't know.
They have sprinklers, I believe.
And then the bed and breakfasts in town?
I haven't been in those as well, so I'm not sure.
Okay, and then the long-term renters, so
Yes.
people that rent their houses out long-term, we don't give them licenses.
We're right, so we wouldn't know.
So,
You wouldn't know who's renting.
Yeah, exactly.
But so that to me is where we decided to put in short-term rental. So again, we go back to what I would call mission creep of the short-term rental agreement. And I would, that to me would be the basis of a suit against us, which is meaning that, well, no, listen to me. I hear you, but if you could just listen for where I'm going with this. We entered in an agreement, we signed this basically, and it got voted on by the town with this agreement, and this was the problem. Again, what was the problem we were trying to solve? We were trying to solve VRBOs, the look and feel of our town, going from non-residential, venture capitalists coming in and buying up us, and we were trying to stay a somewhat residential town. And I think the great work that was done there, Kennebunk, has, and other towns are seeing, their way to the sea on this one too, because, towns are being inundated because of this. So I think the foresight that the town, the board and the town manager and the community have on this was great. But now I feel like we're taking one step too far on this one.
So I just want to mention that this is a relatively fairly new undertaking that we have taken upon ourselves. We have all these short-term rentals, and you don't, when you first start something out, you always have to correct something, and I think this is a correction.
It's an amendment, it's an addition. You're not fixed to what the initial reason was for putting the license down. I don't understand that argument.
And I would kind of, to Mary Beth, I agree with what you're saying to a point, and to what we're proposing here is to bring it to the voters to decide if they want to add on to that ordinance or not. And if the voters want to reject it, they can reject it, and that's what the voters have chosen, then we will live with that. But if the voters and the people, the residents of the town of Kennebunkport want to add this to the short-term rental ordinance, that's up to them. And I think that's what being asked is, do we want to put this to the ballot in November?
Correct.
is the intent of this discussion?
You have a hand
The
raised.
intent is if we are interested in putting these on the ballot, you would have to decide at your next meeting, so we're reviewing them
All right.
tonight, but we're also getting legal review in the meantime.
Just a minute.
And so if there's feedback or you're not interested in some of these changes at all going on the ballot, we're just trying to understand that.
Okay, so I think we have some.
And we have somebody who wants to make.
Yeah, you had a lady's hand up.
Hi,
Come on,
please,
up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Hill, resident of Kennebunkport. Good evening, members of the Board of Selectmen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and your continued service to our community. My name is Susan Hill, and I'm with Maritime Realty in Kennebunkport. Our agency has proudly managed short-term rentals at Goose Rocks Beach for over 45 years. I'm here this evening to express my concern about the evolving scope of the short-term rental ordinance. While safety is and always will be a top priority, I respectfully disagree with the proposed requirements that non-conforming egress windows in short-term rental properties be brought up to current code. This has not been part of the ordinance previously, and its inclusion now raises broader questions. It is this type of safety upgrade that is truly necessary, then shouldn't it be applied consistently across all residential and commercial properties in Kennebunkport, not just those used as short-term rentals? I'd also ask the board if there's any available data showing that short-term rentals have had more fire or safety incidences compared to residential and commercial properties. That information would be helpful in understanding the basis for such a change. My understanding was, and always has been, that the intent of the STR ordinance was to preserve the neighborhood character of our community, primarily by limiting the number of short-term rental properties, not by altering long-standing building requirements. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we have folks online?
Yes.
Bill, once again, you can speak.
Thanks, Dave. I tried to.
I'm sorry, could you introduce,
Oh, sorry, Bill Yunker.
Hi, Bill.
Down at Goose Rocks Beach. I, like Susan, was involved with short-term rentals for over 40 years at Goose Rocks Beach. I'm particularly, first of all, I'd like to, wish I could see all the selectmen, but now I can't see you, but I'd like to ask them how many understood these changes on their first read-through, especially without the orange or pink sidebars explaining them, because they are very confusing. The fact that we had to do a whole new lodging establishment definition and then exempted all those lodging establishments from the short-term rental agreement is very troubling to me, because they're obviously short-term rental establishments. So anyways, it's very, no town zoning ordinance should be impossible for a resident to figure out when reading through it. And I find this, someone who was in real estate for over 45 years, I find it ridiculous. Sorry. The wording is tough. The egress windows, I mean, that's a different thing. If you're gonna, I agree with Susan, if you're gonna make short-term rentals update outdated windows, you better make everybody update outdated windows, not just people that are renting their houses. I realize the liability concern with the licensing, I get all that. But this is, I would really like to find out from the selectmen how many understood the language when they read through it. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. You have someone else online?
Yes.
Bruce Jones, you can speak.
Hi, this is Bruce Jones. I spoke to you folks 2 months ago when we first brought up the egress window issues, and specifically about the costs. Do you folks know how much these windows cost? They are $1,000 to $1,500 a piece. We have 2 3-bedroom houses that were left to us. My grandparents' house that was built in 1965, and our aunt and uncle's house that was built in 1963. To get 3 egress windows in each house is going to cost from, just to get the windows, is going to cost from $3,000 to $4,500. But said that our second floor windows, our second floor bedrooms, to get these egress windows in, we are limited by our roof line, and we are going to have to dormer both houses to get these windows in. The estimate for these dormers is $5,000 to $7,000. So you're talking about adding an extra $10,000 in a year to my cost. That's $10,000, guys. Do you all want to add $10,000 to your budget next year or 2 years? We hold on to these for family use. They were built in the 60s for a song. $10,000 is a lot of money. I can see that this would be okay to add to the Kennebunkport building codes going forward, but asking us to retrofit older houses is extremely costly. And I also agree with what is becoming a rather unanimous view that we really can't limit egress windows to rental houses. We need to make that an issue for all houses in Kennebunkport. And if we make that an issue for all houses in Kennebunkport, and you ask the citizens of Kennebunkport to vote on it, I can guess how the vote's going to turn out. I appreciate the effort you folks put into this, but I don't think you're aware of the costs. And that's all I wanted to point out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And we have Lisa once again.
Lisa?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Excellent, okay. Thank you for the time. I just want to add to what Bruce has said. We actually got ahead of the issue thinking it was going to be enforced this past year and had to have 3 windows placed in our 1951 home that we inherited from my husband's family with no funds to maintain it. So we rented during the summer in order to recoup enough money to pay the taxes, pay the expense to maintain the house. It cost us $6,600 to replace 3 windows. If we had to replace additional windows within the rooms in order to preserve the aesthetics, it would have been double. These Goose Rocks and some of these older homes and people that have been in Kennebunkport for as long as my in-laws were and try to keep the families there that are in trouble. And I agree that we have not changed the house. We rent because we have to. We're not an LLC. We're not a commercial business. We're trying to cover our costs. So if you're going to apply this, I think you have to apply it more broadly and understand what the impact is to the people that are part of your community and are subsidizing the year-round residents. We use our home for 14 weeks a year and rent it for 8 to 10 of those to cover the expenses, not to make money. We haven't made money yet. So I think you just need to understand the perspective that your people are that you're impacting. We're not the people that are building multi-million-dollar homes. So we're the ones that are trying to stay in Kennebunkport and be part of the character that drew us to town to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Paul Hogan.
Mr. Paul.
Paul Hogan again. Hey, 2 things. David, just because it's an LLC doesn't mean it's a business. In the old days,
You
when,
are a
can I just
corporate-
finish?
Yep, you can, and then I'm going to come back at you. But
Okay.
go on.
Yeah. In the old days, when estate taxes mattered, people did all kinds of things, trusts and all kinds of things. Those are becoming less important because there's no estate tax anymore, essentially. You could pass down a $5 million house for free. There's no tax paid on it. So I think people are choosing LLCs just because
They're limiting their liability.
No, I understand that. Yeah, of course.
And they're basically setting it separate. So if someone sued them, it's a separate piece of property for them. It is not going to, right. So it is a corporation. If you have an LLC, you should be filing a business tax form.
Yeah, you have to.
Not a personal tax form. So it's not your personal property that you are renting out to gain some income. You have set up a separate company. You are a commercial entity.
But there are a
So
lot of
let's
LLCs that are just family homes that aren't rented out.
But
they just do it because
fine.
the lawyer says this is a new way to go.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
and the other thing was, this is kind of a Lori, Amy question, and I guess because I've spoken twice, people are texting me. So this person says, my husband believes the Uniform Fire Code has to be applied to all, not to any particular class. He suggests town attorney may want to check on that and check out the NFPA standard. If a town recognizes one standard for all, essentially that you can't discriminate, I think is.
And it's not our intention
I don't know anything
to.
about this.
Yeah.
I'm just.
So it's about new construction or renovation versus an existing structure that's not undergoing any of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right, so we've got some good input on that. Again, we don't need to make a final decision until next meeting.
Certainly, and I would just, as a quick note on the egress windows, kind of wrap it up. I think that one of the things that staff really is concerned about is obviously the safety of the people staying there. And I think that it's important to remember that the people who are renting a property short term don't live there, and so don't necessarily understand what they are renting when they get there. My family, for example, actually a couple years ago, we were staying at a house sort of in central Maine, and they had a bunk room in the basement, and there was not a single window in the room, and there was only one door in and out. And my family happens to know a lot about the building codes, but and therefore noticed that there was no form of egress from this room. And I think that this is a pretty common story in short-term rentals. I've been to a lot of these houses at this point, and I think the bottom line is that when someone rents a house, they kind of are expecting to be safe while they're staying there, and they don't necessarily sign off on the fact that they are staying in a room with a window that they can't feasibly get out of. So that's kind of where we're standing as staff, is we're looking to sort of make this a little bit more uniform so that when someone is staying in a home, we know that they don't need to be briefed on the size of their window before they get in.
And on that point, if we decided not to put this as a requirement, I would very much like to put in a requirement that anyone who rents a room without proper egress has a place where the renter initials acknowledging that they are renting a room without a proper egress. And there may be folks that would be perfectly happy doing that, but it's to your point that folks need to know that that's the case. So we'll see how this all pans out.
Isn't part of the egress for the firefighter
Safety of fire,
safety?
yeah. First
You know,
responder.
Scott air pack, bunker coat,
Yes.
helmet. You got to be able to get out of a room that's burning quickly.
Yes,
And-
and those oxygen tanks are big. They're quite bulky.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of heard a lot of things on this. I would like, if the board's willing, to move on to the 2 or 50% rule. Personally, I like that. I like the intent of what that is doing. My concern is there are 4 buildings, properties that I know of that currently have, would lose licenses under this statute.
Provision, yeah.
So what I would hope, if we decided to go this way, I would like to find some way grandfather's not the right word, but to allow them on the renewals to continue with that number of licenses until such time as one of those licenses dropped, and then it would revert back.
And I think that that's very reasonable.
Yeah,
And we, it's not unheard of in our ordinances when we, if we change a setback or something, we don't ask people to demolish their sheds.
Indeed.
We have these legal non-conforming uses. So I think that would be very reasonable and a reasonable exception.
And you could work that into the licensing process. There would be a way that we would know that moving forward, that those
Yeah, I mean, we
specific
know currently
licenses.
who has
Great.
licenses that don't meet this requirement.
Great.
So we would be able to kind of keep those. And it's not even unheard of in our licenses, our short-term rental ordinance now, we have, some properties have cottages that were initially approved because they've been short-term rentals that we would not approve now. So that, it's not unheard of in our short-term rental process currently. Pretty much anybody who has a license, we give them the opportunity to renew until they lapse in their renewal at some point. So
I see, so this wouldn't even be applicable because we'll always let them renew. We won't do the test for the ones that are renewing.
yes, that would be my expectation.
Okay.
So what you're saying is if you have a license now and you don't sell your house, or whatever, but when you do sell your house and the egress window is not.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the licenses, I'm not doing egress window.
Oh, okay,
I changed
I'm
gears.
sorry.
I'm sorry, no, I changed
It's okay.
gears.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were,
So this is the two licenses per lot or 50%
all right.
of the dwelling
Yeah.
units
Got it.
language.
And again, there are only 4 currently affected by maybe 5.
There's very few.
Very few,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're not taking away anything, very sorry, yeah, I can have it.
Correct. Yep.
It's a bad habit. Good, all righty. So any other thoughts on the 2 to 50?
No, I think it has to do with what could potentially be coming down the road.
Right.
Yep. And I did hear one of the public comments concerning the lodging establishment. I apologize if the language was confusing. We do work with our attorney to make this language legally airtight, which sometimes does mean that to a layperson, it's a little bit jargony. We certainly in the planning department are always happy to talk to residents if there's any confusion about our ordinances. But for the lodging establishment specifically, a lodging establishment is something that has been approved by the town's planning board for use as a hotel or motel or something. So it's not the same as a short-term rental. It is a different use and one that's approved through a much more rigorous application process.
So this was in essence removing that from the short-term rental.
This is including it. So yes, anything that's a lodging establishment is exempt from short-term rental, but only because they go through a rigorous planning board approval process instead.
And to answer Mr. Junker's question, we all did read through this, but we sat with Galen, so it wasn't like
Wasn't fair.
it wasn't like a fair read as a resident, so I think that's, we sat there in Galen's office and were able to ask questions as we were reading, so.
But
Sure,
that is when legalese is legalese, and that's, needs to be there, so.
Yes, unfortunately, it's,
And that's why you're
sometimes
there
can
to
be
answer our
difficult.
questions.
Yes, absolutely, and I would reiterate that, we're available, you can schedule meetings with us, and we're always happy to talk about our ordinances and anything that might be confusing language with people.
Okay, well, that's 1 of 4 down.
Yes, okay, so if there's no more questions on short-term rental,
We're ready for land use.
okay, yes, we can do land use next. Let me pull that up quickly. Okay, so I have a few pages here. What would the board prefer? Would you like to ask me questions that you've come up with in your review of the language, or do you want me to go kind of line by line?
No, good way to do it.
I have like an overall question.
Okay.
Just a general question when I was reading through it. So, well, actually, there's 2 of them. One, is this in alignment with state, or is there any area where we became more restrictive than the state?
In this particular change, and Galen, please correct me if I'm wrong, we are aligning with the state. We're not being more restrictive. We have, sometimes in the past, we've chosen to be more restrictive, but for this, we've pretty much copied and pasted from shoreline zoning what's in here, with some tweaks to make it Kennebunkport appropriate, if something doesn't line up properly. So we're not being more restrictive here than the state.
Okay, and then in the, I had highlighted one, I guess I didn't save it. Oh, there's one. And then as I'd gone through, we did some vernal pool, wetland updates. So have we made things harder? Harder might be the wrong word. Have we made things more restrictive for property owners? Have we now?
In terms of vernal pools, we, Kennebunkport, have not. The state of Maine has. So in the past, if you had a vernal pool of significance on your property, you basically had a 100-foot no disturbance buffer around that vernal pool. But for some reason, it stopped at the property line. So if your vernal pool was on the property line of your neighbor, they did not have the same disturbance. The state has updated their language to require that that area of no disturbance crosses property lines, but that's a state change and not a town change. So we are not making more restrictive vernal pool language in this ordinance change for the residents from a town perspective.
And then how about from the wetlands perspective? I think we had some definition changes for the wetland.
Yeah, we included some updated language for wetlands. So you'll notice there's some updated definition terms. A lot of our old definitions were very hyper-specific about what you needed to use to make determinations on things like the upland edge of a wetland, referencing back to like a survey from specific years and so forth. So we've updated some of our language to simply be more reasonable and more just less hyper-specific. So it's actually more accessible language to the average resident. We have not made things more restrictive in terms of the wetland.
Okay.
And then the last one was the planning board site plan review. We're doing the 100-year stormwater management requirement per the comp plan strategy instead of the 50-year.
Yes, and that was something that was actually a request of the GPC, was to kind of increase a little bit our stormwater requirements there. We, as we get more and more big storms, planning for a 50-year storm just isn't really cutting it anymore, and so we're upping that to a 100-year storm event instead. I think it is important to note that the planning board site plan requirement for stormwater, for giving us stormwater calculations, doesn't kick in until there's 10,000 square feet of impervious surface or of land improvement, which is a large amount. And most site plans, I would say 98% of the site plans we receive would not trigger that requirement.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a question on the 240, 412, the farm and forest zone.
Yes.
I noticed we removed a lot of things, and I certainly understand that they weren't appropriate for that zone.
Yeah.
But I was curious that the agritourism was not included, was not put back in there. And I just have a concern that, given our farms aren't the most fertile of soil in this glacial till, but that we're removing an opportunity for owners of a farm to be able to have a little extra additional source of income.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. I think that the growth planning committee decided to table agritourism for now, so it's not off forever. But we would like to do a little bit more tweaking just to make sure it is really aligning with what people would like to see.
Perfect.
Before it gets put on the ballot. So it's still under review, but it's not gone. We haven't struck it completely from the record.
Excellent. I encourage you to keep looking at it.
And I just had one question on that too. In the farm and forest, what you're striking out, don't have a problem with most of them, but retail business, I was just curious, in that district, in that zone now, do we have any retail businesses?
I'm not sure.
I'm just wondering.
If we did, they would be allowed to continue. Similar, like we just mentioned, the legally non-conforming use is what's created basically when we remove something that's allowed in a specific zone. So if someone did have a retail business, they would not be required to close it down.
Become a non-conforming use.
Exactly. So if someone else, moved in at some point.
And if someone else purchased it and wanted to continue the business, they could.
I don't believe.
No, I think you can, as long as.
I'm thinking somebody else.
I believe you can.
I just want to make sure that
Well, in fact, it happened at the tides. I mean, yes, of course you can.
As long as you don't delay more than a year or get a special permission from
And
the
you can't
planning board.
expand it, so that's what that's, yeah.
And we, the reasoning behind this for staff is striking these from the allowable uses in farm and forest is, we did some staff research into when the ordinances changed, and farm and forest used to just be a part of free enterprise, And then they chopped it off, but did not change any of the zone regulations. So we are, we're interpreting what we think that the people were meaning to do, which is to create a zone where there wasn't a lot of commercial use.
Yes. I just don't want a farm in the farm and forest that has a retail component to it, not being able to sell their products if they're doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
indeed,
Right,
indeed.
okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions, or did you want me to go over anything else, or we're good there?
Good.
That's
All right.
good on land use.
And then the last thing we have is floodplain. It's really just a minor administrative change. We missed some references when we made the last change, so there's no actual regulations that are changing. It's just little reference changes throughout the ordinance.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you,
That's everything
Nadia.
for me.
Great job.
Thank you.
Are you up?
I don't know. I
Shellfish-
think you are.
Shellfish
You're
ordinance.
out. Yeah, I see you falling asleep. I don't blame you. I'm with you on
I
that.
could use an oyster
They,
right
they
now, to
have
be
turned,
honest
I
with
think
you.
they've turned the air conditioning off.
Yeah, yeah.
You are getting sleepy. So
Talk fast.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Everett Leach, and I am the chairman of the Shellfish Committee and your Shellfish Board. We've got proposed ordinances in front of you. Some of it come about by request of the state. One in particular was we were told that we did not have a definition for seniors. So therefore, we
Really?
would not be able to sell or give away senior licenses. And so we kind of had to update that and put that in there. It's always been there, we've always given those licenses away, but somewhere down the line, it wasn't in their paperwork. So that's part of it. So while we're at it, and there were the other things they requested was a few housekeeping words, changing, like the term, his shellfish or his clams. They wanted that changed to their clams, their personal use. You know, we had to change the pronouns.
Okay.
And another one of theirs was a title change from Department of Marine Resources, area biologist. They wanted it changed to scientist. Their title changed, that's what they want to be called, so we put that in our.
Well, they may not be biologists, so that's right.
Well, I kind of wish, well, they're the ones we have to ask questions to about
About the
what to do
biology.
about the clams and the resources. But nonetheless, that's the term they want. So we figured, well, while we're at it, changing that, is there anything that we, the Shellfish Board, would like to change? And there were a few things we put in, a few things we took out.
So Everett, why did, we changed license waiver fees, recreational shellfish license fees. It used to say will be waived for residents and real estate taxpayers 65 years and older, and the will's been striked out and it says may. So why would we change that?
Could you tell me what page that's on, where that is? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
It's G.
But it's G.
G.
Section G.
So
I'm chasing it here.
it would be page 4.
Okay.
It's just softening. When will we now?
Yours is probably different than ours.
I thought
Do you
I
want to
gave
see
you-
mine?
Because the ones that are lined and struck out, I thought were, so, would you kind of explain what you're?
So
getting to?
I mean, one of the things I was looking forward to when I turned 65 was.
Now it's not, now they may take it
Oh, they-
away.
You're not
take
there
it
yet,
away.
Mary
I'm
Beth.
getting
What are you worried
closer
about?
every year. And now they're taking it
God
away. I don't like this game.
So it
I wa-
went from a will, it went from a definite to a may.
I like it
That's
to
right.
keep it in a definite zone,
Well,
will.
What if we want to change the,
No,
what if you want to change the age limit?
no, let's
No,
keep
no.
it.
Want to
No, let's keep it as will.
She didn't want flexibility.
Let's not get flexible here, guys. Come on, I'm getting closer to 65. Let's keep
Another
it,
year.
will.
One more year.
Yeah, one more year.
Okay, I mean, we
This
just
doesn't
thought that was
impact me.
softening it up
Unless your
and make-
first name
instead of
is
making
Mary
it,
No softening language.
Instead of
Will.
making it a
Please
demand.
will give you this license.
Are you officially asking for a change?
Yeah, that's the only one. I read through everything.
Would you be willing to consider making that more definite?
Just basically get rid of may and put will back.
I don't have a problem, and can I get back to you after I ask the committee?
Right, there you go.
You can have your pen back.
I appreciate that. So,
And how can I do that? Can I let the town clerk to let you
it's-
know that?
Ju-
Go ahead.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, it says it was amended 11/8/2022. What did we amend in that section G?
It went
Did we
from-
make it
it
may
went
to
from
will?
may to will.
Yeah, I don't recall what that
It's
was.
just-
Will, 65.
All
We'll
right,
get
so
free
we're
will.
good with this?
We are good with this. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Are you
Thank
good,
Harvey. Thank you for
Tracy?
sticking
That's it?
around.
No,
That's a
thank you
long
very
meeting
much.
effort.
You're
Okay,
free to
item
go.
Yep.
Free to go.
Item number
You
13,
wanna
this
keep
is a
it, you
request to change the hours of fishermen parking at Government Wharf.
If you want to keep it.
And
Who's here to speak on?
who is left to speak to this?
Tree.
We can just read it off. Here's the request.
I
But,
think it's a good request.
yeah, you can speak to this,
You want to
Alan.
speak to it,
Yeah,
Alan,
it's
and
a
I'll
good-
make the
it's-
motion.
It's a good request, and I think it's okay. I don't, you know, the amendment from 4 AM to 11, they're adding an hour.
But they've had a problem, right? I mean, the point, there's
Yeah,
a reason for
they've had a
doing
problem.
this, is the fishermen have been negatively impacted, and they feel these hours will support
They'll
them.
help it, they'll
Yeah.
help.
And I can't see how this is gonna hurt Joe Q Public, so,
So what
I-
are they requesting? They're
I will make,
requesting-
They want to go ahead and
extend
extend
an
the
hour.
hour.
I will,
Send it earlier, so
earlier
they
and
can-
later. From
It
4 to
was
11.
5 to 10, now they would want it
4 to 11.
And fishermen do, you know, they get to their boats at 4 AM.
Well, you bet.
So I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Number 14, this is the Maine Municipal Association's annual election. We are being asked to approve the recommended slate. Lori and staff have recommended approval.
So moved.
Second.
No discussion, all in favor. Then we have a sewer abatement request for Perkins Realty Trust, Sharon Perkin Bunker, trustee 030-001-026. The abatement request is due to a 2-unit building becoming a single-family home. The abatement amount is $708.74.
Make a motion to approve the abatement to the
Second.
Perkins Realty Trust, Perkins Bunker, in the amount of $708.74.
Second.
First and a second, discussion, all in favor. That passes, and then we are now to appoint Sarah, and I want to get this right, Sarah, excuse me, to the Conservation Commission with an expiration date June of 2028.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And any other business? Joe?
Nope.
David?
Just want to thank the police department for the great first night out that they.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
it was a wonderful
time.
event.
Great event.
Alan?
None, thank you.
Mary Beth?
No, thank you.
None for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some information about our recycling and trash changes.
This
So-
is good news. This is good news.
So this is just something you can look at, but as you know, we made the changes to trash collection and we're not taking commercial businesses as of January who no longer fit into the model of residential use. And so this shows you in the first 6 months, in comparison to 2024, how the trash and recycling has changed. So you can see overall, trash tons have decreased 439 tons, or 35%.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
And recycling, meanwhile, you can see that we were below in recycling until we went to automated weekly. And now we have increased recycling by 21 tons so far,
Which is another celebration, really.
or 10% change. I anticipate, when we have 6 months of full automated, you'll see that increase. So down below, you'll see that our 2024 ton estimate was 2,400 for trash and 400 for recycling. So going into this fiscal year, we are making estimates about what that commercial change would be, and it was really a educated guess. But we had 1,800 tons. You'll remember at the end of the budget, we reduced it by another 200 tons. So we came down to 1,800 tons from 2,400. And based on 800 tons for the first 6 months, we'll probably hit or below that mark, so that's good news. We had increased our recycling tons to 480, and based on the first 6 months, understanding that the first few months we didn't have weekly, so it'll probably be above that. And that's what the savings is. So trash was an additional almost $55,000 in our 6-month savings. And the increase in recycling cost was about $2,900.
So that's interesting when you did the 35% overall, but then if you look at May, June, and July,
Right, 'cause that's where the
we're down
majority.
46%.
And keep in
trash.
mind that we had told them that we were not going to be collecting it, but until we really went to the carts, some people might have been still putting trash out who didn't have a dumpster. So we could have been collecting extra trash during those months.
And also, we only have the one tote, so all the other extra trash that was left.
Right, had to go away
had
to
go
someplace else.
someplace
yeah.
else.
Kennebunkport.
Good news.
So, anyway, just wanted to share that information.
No, it's not just commercial.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All righty, then, I think we need to approve our warrant. So let's
moved.
approve, so moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
How about that?
And now, unfortunately, before we adjourn, estimated 7:30, well, we missed that.
Are we still
By a little
on?
bit.
We are, I would like a motion to enter into executive session per MRSA 1, Section 405-6E, to consult with the town attorney regarding pending litigation.
No, call.
I move.
Okay, but no one else was, we wouldn't go in. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All right, then, all in favor, we need to do it.
So I don't know if the board wants to make note to the public that when you come out of executive session, you will not be taking any future votes and you'll be adjourning at that point. So the
Yes.
video won't resume.
All right, folks, I hope that, yes, so that is, folks so noted that we will not be having any further decisions or votes, and so the video will be terminating at this point.
It's mine.